The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT. I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Once again, back again. True School After Dark, 3 days in a row. Good to see you guys again. Listen, it's supposed to be a slow time in boxing right now, but I gotta give a lot of credit to, like, I have to really give my thanks and I gotta give my appreciation to the entire 154 division, from Vergil to Xander to Bakhram to Erickson Lubin to Boots Ennis, and of course to the fighting pride of Angola, Usima Lima. These guys are keeping the boxing, they're giving us something to talk about in this very slow time of boxing. So whether it be good or whether it be bad, they're giving us something to talk about. So listen, we have a lot to unpack today because there was a lot of back and forth going on social media today about between Vergil and Xander. Then supposedly Vergil's supposed to fight Lubin, right? They have an agreement, but they're giving Xander a deadline, but Xander's the champion. So, like, how can you give the champion a deadline? So there's that. And then, then you have the big elephant in the room, which is Bakhram Murtazaliev, who Lubin was supposed to fight. He didn't fight Bakhram. Vergil's not really trying to fight Bakhram. So we asked the question, is Bakhram a boogeyman? There's just so much to talk about. So I look forward to this live. It's going to be a really fun 2 hours. I'm watching the Pro Box card in the background while I'm talking to you guys. You got Xander Bunch right now on Pro Box doing his thing. But yeah, man. Before we get into the talking points, because I got quite a lot of them, let me go take some time to acknowledge the fine folks that are tuning in and making their presence felt. Make sure you guys smash the like button if you're here watching live, and if you're watching the playback, definitely smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and definitely super chat. But here we are. Let's go to the comments, man, because I see people coming in here, and I see people here, like, making their presence felt, showing that love and support. My man David Esther says, "How is anyone scared of Murtazaliev? Not everyone is." I mean, look, at first I was like, you know what? These guys can't all be scared of Murtazaliev. I don't want to be that weirdo, because I feel like a lot of times when I was younger, I used to love being that weirdo boxing hipster, where I would like to say, where I used to get off on saying, like, these guys are scared of the Eastern European, but really it was the Eastern Europeans fighters team just not really making an investment in him. But this guy's a champion. This guy has a belt, and he can't get, like, anybody worth a damn to fight him, or just anybody at all. So it's like, these guys are making him look like a killer. If Bakhram isn't a killer, these guys are making him look like that. So I question why anyone will be scared of Bakhram, because these fighters. I don't think fighters are scared of him, but they're making me question what I believe, what I know to be true. So it's just one of those things. Shout out to Pops. Make sure you guys show your appreciation to Pops in the comments. He says, and the drama continues. Yeah, Pops, the drama's continuing. It's not stopping. And I guess we're here to cover this soap opera while boxing's in a very slow period. We're gonna cover this soap opera. So yes, sir. Jeffrey the Pig. Hey, True School. What's good? What's good, Jeffrey? Good to see you, champ. Jesus M, are you watching Pro Box TV? Yeah, I'm watching it right now. I've been following the card right now. Xander Bunch is in the 9th round of his fight. Xander Bunch, good boxer. I remember a couple years ago he got I can't remember who he fought, but I did a video about it. He got robbed by somebody on a showbox card. So, we'll see what he does. And then I know on UFC Fight Pass, Omar Trinidad's fighting later on, and I'm gonna watch that after this live is done. So there's still boxing on, even if it's not big time boxing. There's still boxing on. So yeah, good to see you, champ. Good to see you, Jesus. We got Enrique Luda, long time here. Good to see you, Enrique. Yes, sir. True School going crazy with these streams as of late. Yeah, man. Listen, it's all about improvement. It's all about consistency. It's all about being a professional and practicing what I preach. So I'm that's what I'm doing. There's 24 hours in a day. What's 2 hours? I spend my whole life and my whole day thinking about boxing. So it should be very easy to come on here and at least give an hour and a half minimum, 2 hours of my time. So that's what I'm doing here, and I feel like it's growing the relationship with the audience, which is something I really care about. So yeah, they're the cause of boxing being slow. I don't give a shit about talk. I want action. I want action too. Like, truth be told, I wish we could just be in a stage where we would get the fights. At least you get the fights. Like we say with Turkey and all that. But just whenever there's money and ego and the pride of life involved, you're always gonna have people pulling out their dicks and trying to get into a pissing contest. That's just the nature of not just boxing but life in general. Everyone's always trying to one up everyone. So that's how it goes. if Josh Kelly gets the Bakhram Murtazaliev fight, SMH, I don't think he's going to fight Bakhram because Bakhram, Josh Kelly made an extraordinary amount of money to fight Ishmael Davis on a Turkey card. So really and truthfully, I don't think they're going to offer him enough to for him to entice and go through with taking that fight. So, yep. We got Sir Trainee 8718 says, "What's up, True School? What's good, champ? How you living? Hope all is well. Pac-Man in the building. Shout out to you, champ. What's up to you? Says up, BT. Good to see you. But yeah, look, we're 5 minutes in. We're 6 minutes in. So listen, guys, hold on. Make sure y'all smash that like button. Definitely smash that like button so that the live gets pushed out to as many boxing fans as possible. We go like Jeffrey the Pig said, we going crazy with these live streams. So I'm doing it at a consistent time, 10 at night Eastern. Was it 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific, 9 Central. So I feel like it's a good time, and I operate really good at this time. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. But listen, I'm gonna get into my talking points. There's a lot to talk about. So, you guys leave your comments. I'll get to them in a timely fashion. But there's a lot to discuss because it's like I got like 5 talking points. It might take me an hour to get through, but I'll still be reading your comments in between each talking point, as you always do here on True School Sports. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think about all this stuff. Make your presence known. Let me know, too. What city are you watching from? What state? What continent? I want to know how international we are on the broadcast today, because I know I got a diverse audience. I got people all over the world that watch True School Sports. I know, like, from looking at my analytics, I think there's about like 7 or 8 countries that I've had 1 million views or more, and it's a lot of countries. It's a lot of countries that I've never even been to. So it's a beautiful thing. But anyway, enough rambling. We've given people time to come in. Let's get to it, man, because my day started off. I was sitting here, going for the boxing news, trying to figure out what I was going to talk about today. So I thank the 154 division because they made today very easy for me. I figured out what I was going to talk about on today's live because of the 154 pound fighters and all the news and all the back and forth. They made it a no-brainer. So we'll go to screen share because today I woke up, right, and this is what I saw. I saw this. I saw this report from Ring Magazine that Vergil Ortiz and Erickson Lubin that they had agreed. They were finalizing a fight for a bout to take place on October 18th on DAZN. Now, my initial thoughts to this were, number one, I do think that this is a good matchup because, Lubin is one of the most credible contenders in the division. He's fought at a high level before, so I wasn't mad at it. But once I got past that initial thought, I said, damn. So you mean to tell me Vergil Ortiz and Robert Garcia and them, they won't do the Bakhram fight, despite the fact that Robert Garcia used to train Bakhram and knows Bakhram? And then you have Lubin, who was, their fight was supposed to go to purse bid. He was the first guy in line to fight Bakhram, and he was doing all this crying on Twitter about how Bakhram didn't want to fight him, and now he's fighting Vergil Ortiz. So Lubin, who like Vergil, has never been a world champion, is foregoing the opportunity of fulfilling his lifelong dream, or what should be one of his lifelong goals, at least in boxing, to become a world champion, to fight Vergil Ortiz. So I know a lot of these fighters, and I know a lot of boxing fans are going to get mad at the media when we start looking at Bakhram like he's some sort of killer. But y'all the ones that are making him look like a killer. It ain't me. Like, I think Bakhram's a good fighter, but I don't, I have my questions about him, but it's the fighters. It's the way these fighters are moving that are making me think that Bakhram might be really more than what he's perceived to be. But anyway, so that fight got done, and I was like, okay, cool. I wasn't mad at it. I understood it. I had my questions about why Bakhram's not getting the fight, but you can't get mad at Vergil versus Lubin. Vergil is Vergil Ortiz is a great power boxer. He's got one of the best jabs in the business. He's for the most part, he's a great finisher. He just beat Majmov, which a lot of people looked at as a great win. And he's fought some good competition. So to have a 3-fight run of Boachuk, Majmov, Lubin, to me that's really solidifying yourself as one of the top guys in the division. So there was no reason to hate. But then things got really interesting. Things got really intriguing because that's when we got to a stage where we start seeing Vergil Ortiz's dad come out and say, look, this isn't true yet because they being Vergil and Golden Boy Promotions, they made an offer. And Xander has a deadline. Had a deadline of 5 p.m. today, because he's had the offer for a couple of days. Apparently, he's had it since Wednesday. And that's it. So he's saying the only way that Xander fight's gonna happen is if Lubin the only way the Lubin fight's gonna happen is if Xander turns the fight down and decides to not accept the offer. So he's out here. He's pushing the envelope. He's doing what he can to pull Xander's card and do all those things. So, you know, and then we'll get into like the whole situation of like what Vergil was saying and Xander, you know, kind of like being like, yo, meet me in Puerto Rico. But I want to camp out on this matchup because I feel like, you know, if this fight does come to fruition, if we do get Vergil versus Erickson Lubin, I feel like that's a great fight. I really do feel like if Lubin fights Bakhram, to me that's a better fight because it's Lubin fighting for a world title. It's Bakhram in there with a credible name, a guy that, you know, a lot of boxing fans may say is better than Tim Tszyu, which is the guy that he beat for the title. And so I would rather see Lubin versus Bakhram. I think Lubin versus Bakhram is actually one of the fights to make in the division because they both got a lot to prove. Lubin, again, I'm from Florida, and I'm old enough to remember many years ago when Lubin turned pro very early with Mike Tyson Productions and made his professional debut at the American Airlines Arena. It had about as much hype as any fighter in the state of Florida over the last 10 years. Easily. He's been one of the most hyped up fighters in Florida for the last 10 years. And for those of you who aren't in the Florida boxing community, whether it be South Florida, North Florida, West Florida, yo, Erickson Lubin is one of the most hyped up fighters in the state of Florida. I've never really been quite as high on Lubin as the rest of the people in Florida, but, you know, he's a good fighter. This fight right here be a chance, the Bakhram fight and this fight, either one, but more so the Bakhram fight because it's a world title fight. That would have been a chance for him to like validate, you know, hit some of the hype he had when he was younger, you know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? What are you guys making of a Vergil Lubin fight? Because I feel like both of them got a lot to prove. Let me see. Let me go to the comments because I see I got some comments here. Let me see. Let me go to the comments. Shout out to my boy Carl Hansen. He said, "But BT, salute, brother. Salute to you, champ. Hope all is well. Hope all is well with you out there in Australia. You know, shout out to the Aussies." He says, I am Mexico says, BT, how you doing? From Hong Kong, currently studying university in Canada. Shout out to you out there in Hong Kong, man. Get your studies in. It's important. You know, I mean, I didn't go to college. I mean, it wasn't anything that I wanted to pursue, but you know, I respect anybody that's going after their degree and furthering their education. Like Sebastian Fundora, like look at Fundora, right? He's a world champion, right? Knocking people out. And Sebastian Fundora is a guy that's going ahead and he's going to be an engineer. So we could all further our education. But yeah, shout out to you, champ. Let me see. Let me go over here. What do I think of Jahai Tucker versus Vito Manecki? It's I mean, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, they just fought on the same card. Jahai had a good win against Truck, and Vito Manecki's been steadily getting wins, so it's a cool fight. But I'm not gonna act like I'm over the moon about it. But it's cool. Like I ain't mad at it. Word Up says, BT, you should dye your hair a bright color and become the Neon of boxing. Yo, with as much disrespect in my soul as I could possibly muster up, yo, fuck Neon. I'm not Neon. My name is Brendan Taylor, BT, and I will be addressed as such. I'm not Neon. Nah, man. Neon needs to make his hair go black so he could be true school, so he could be me. I ain't trying to be like nobody. Fuck all that. Disrespectfully, you know. Vergil is offering to fight Zayas. I'm gonna get into that here in a second, but like, how are you the contender? Like I'm not hating. I'm a fan of both guys, but just try to just understand where I'm coming from. How are you the contender? You have never fought for a world title, and you making an offer to the champion. That's not really how it works. It's not really how it works. That's like right now, right? That's like right now. I'll use Angelo Leo, right? Because that's my boy, and I'm part of the team and stuff. That's like right now. If I don't know, we'll just say like Bruce Carrington. That's like Bruce Carrington saying, "Yo, Angelo, I'm gonna make you offer the IBF title." How you gonna make how can a contender make the champion the offer? The contender is not in the position of power, at least in most cases. Now, you do have your rare scenarios where, like, you're Canelo Alvarez and you're this megastar, or now you're Inoue and you're this megastar. You can do that, but most of the time you can't do that. So I don't know. Part of me is like, a big part of me is like, yo, this is a lot of posturing from Golden Boy and Xander, but or Vergil. But I'll get into that here in a second. Shout out to my boy Brent Hooker. He says, "Evening BT, looking forward to tuning in after this Pro Box card. Who would you favorite in a O'Shaquie Foster Cool Boy Steph fight if it gets made?" Really good fight. Give me Stephen Fulton, man. I like Stephen Fulton. I like Stephen Fulton more by just because I feel like Stephen Fulton is more adaptable. He's got different he's seen more styles. He's fought at a high level. He's got I feel like with Shock, he's a good fighter, but O'Shaquie Foster, he's he don't have gears. Like I feel like Fulton has gears, you know. And I don't know. I don't think Foster's gonna go in there and just outbox Stephen Fulton and keep him at range like he normally does. So I would say Stephen Fulton by decision, but a good fight. You know, two really good fighters, two of the top fighters in and around that weight. You know, respect to both of them for stepping up to the plate when that fight does get done, because it's gonna happen next. Yeah. Neon versus BT. Look, I have nothing against Neon. Like, I don't hate the guy. I actually do like some of his streams. I have seen some clips and stuff, but man, it gets annoying, man, because like I went to one time. I was at last year when I was at Oscar Valdez versus Liam Wilson. I'll never forget this shit. When I was at Oscar Valdez versus Liam Wilson in Arizona, after the card was done, I was just sitting there waiting for people to exit the text section so I could leave. And these little kids came up to me and they're like, "Yo, has anyone told you look like Neon?" And I'm like, "Yes." So yeah, I ain't got anything against it, but it's agitating because I'm older than Neon, and Neon can't whoop me. So anyway, nonetheless, guys, let me get into my next talking point, because it goes into what I was just saying, right? So I want to go into this whole like back and forth with Xander and Vergil, because there was a lot being said. So here's what Vergil said. He said, this is the first tweet he put out this afternoon, where he said, as you guys can see on the screen, he said, "My team made your team an offer. What's the holdup? You said yes in 1 second last time, didn't you? Right? But see, again, Vergil Ortiz, he doesn't understand that things are different now. You know, what did Fat Joe say? Yesterday's price is not today's price." So when he said yes that first time, Xander Zayas was not a champion. You weren't a champion, and Xander Zayas wasn't a champion. But guess what? You fast forward, eight months later, and things are different. He's at a whole different. The circumstances are different. Xander is a world champion, so now you're not in the same position you were 8 or 9 months ago. This whole situation with Vergil and Xander is a really good example. It's management 101. This is why I'm always thinking about boxing this way, where fighter, like every move a fighter makes or doesn't make in their career is very important, because one wrong move, a step too fast or a step too slow, and you could screw a fighter's whole career up. And I feel like, look, and I'm gonna keep saying this because it's the truth. Vergil thought he was doing something when he fought Madrimov, and I told you guys, first of all, I don't class Madrimov as highly as the rest of the people in boxing. I think Madrimov is one of the most grossly overrated fighters on the world class level. Good fighter. I'm not saying he's not good, but I think people overrate him. And beating Madrimov did nothing for him. He beat Madrimov better than Crawford, and it did nothing for him. He just won an interim belt and hasn't really progressed his career much since. So yeah, he accepted it in 1 second last time, but he wasn't a champion last time he made the offer. He's a champion now. So now you're not in really a position of strength to make him any offers, because you're not a champion. So that's the truth. That's not hating. That's the truth. So then, right, I went on Twitter, right, and I was curious. I had so many questions because there were so many questions to ask when hearing about all these fights and whatnot getting announced. So I tweeted right here. I said, "What about a fight with Bakhram? He's got a belt, and Robert Garcia knows him well from training him. He's available." Then this guy right here, Boxfuck, answered me, and he said, They can get that fight as unification. It's obvious a rehydration clause wouldn't treat Vergil well, given his medical history, right? So Vergil Ortiz responds to that tweet, and he says, That's not true, Box Frog. We cannot get unification with him. Something he won't tell you is that Vergil accepted the fight and tried it as a unification because we are not doing the IBF rule. Funny how Bakhram won't mention that, huh? So look, I was a bit confused when I read the tweet because I was like, how the hell is Vergil gonna get a unification fight with Bakhram when Vergil is not a world champion? He don't have none of the actual belts. But then I was like, well, wait a second. Are they gonna try to? Are they being creative here? Are they thinking outside the box? Are they trying? Is Senior trying to say that Vergil is gonna unify with the WBC interim title and the IBF title? And that's actually what it turned out he was saying. So I'm not even sure. Like, you guys can tell me, some of you guys are pretty smart. Some of you guys are even smarter than me. Can you unify with the interim title? I don't know. I can't think of a scenario where fighters have. I'm sure it's happened because there's been enough situations in boxing. But has there been a situation recently where a fighter who isn't a champion but is an interim champion fought another champion and they unified? I don't know. But my thing is this, right? And I'm gonna push back a little bit on this whole thing. Why does it matter if Vergil? Why does the IBF rehydration clause matter if Vergil Ortiz has only been a 154 pounder for like what? His first fight there was what? Maybe like early 2024. I could be wrong, but he hasn't been a 54 pounder for that long. Like maybe 2 years at max. I can't remember if he was 2023 or 2024 when he had his first fight, but he hasn't been a 154 pounder that long. So why is the IBF clause even a factor? The IBF clause shouldn't even be a factor. And if it is, look, and I'll say this, if the IBF rehydration clause is a factor for Vergil Ortiz, then you know what he needs to do, right? He needs to go more than 160 because you just got to 154. You literally just got to 154. You don't even have a real track record to speak of at 154. You've had what? He's got 4 fights. So 4 fights in about what? I'm gonna say 2 years, about 2 years. So he's fought some good opponents. I won't take that from Vergil. He definitely has done that. But like, you just got here. So why is the IBF rule a factor? I feel like, I'm really perplexed as to why Vergil Ortiz is not like trying to take that Bakhram fight or press for the Bakhram fight, because Robert Garcia trained Bakhram. When Bakhram first got to the States, the videos are on Ellie Sightback's channel. When he first got to the States, he was training Bakhram. So if there's any trainer in this weight class that knows about Bakhram, it's definitely Robert Garcia. He should have all the confidence in the world taking that fight. So I don't know, man. I don't know. And then Xander Zayas goes on Twitter, right? And he says pretty much, look, he pretty much says that this is not a real offer. And I want to dissect this email because he screenshotted an email which was from Eric Gomez, the president of Golden Way Promotions, and it was sent to Carl Moretti, I believe the president of Top Rank, or one of the high-ranking employees of Top Rank, executives of Top Rank. Xander said right here, and I quote, "Vergil, this is not a real offer. Stop lying to your fans. The answer is yes. Come meet me in Puerto Rico." So look, Xander Zayas said yes again. This is the second time Xander said yes. But this time he's saying yes, and he's putting a stipulation in there. He's saying to come meet him in Puerto Rico, which a lot of people are saying that's him ducking. How is that him ducking? He said yes. Everyone's known since the day he won his title, because they said it right after he won his title. Bob Arum literally told him right after he got out of the ring, we want to do your next fight in Puerto Rico. So he's telling him to come meet him in Puerto Rico. So look, if Vergil is really about the smoke, he needs to understand that he's not the champion right now. He's not. He's a contender without a belt who's never been in a world title fight. Has he beaten better fighters than Xander? I would say yeah, he has. Has he tested himself? Yes, he's a fantastic fighter. I love Vergil. I think Vergil has one of the best jabs in the business. I always say that about Vergil. But in the business of boxing, you got to understand positioning, leverage, and you got to understand where you're at right now. And right now, you're not a champion. So Xander is well within his rights to say, you know what, I'll fight you, but it's gonna be how I want it to be, because he went and won a world title. It's not his fault you didn't go do that before him. So here's the email. This is what it says. It says here, and I quote, "Carl, thanks for your prompt reply. It's a 50-50% deal. Venue could be in Nevada or California. As for the remaining details, we can work them out. Yes, the zone will put up a fight night in advance against a portion of the estimated pay-per-view revenue. What I really need is confirmation that Xander wants to fight in December of 2025. If you can confirm that, we can work out the rest of the details. Eric Gomez, president of Woodward Promotions. It says it right there. Now, look, what Eric Gomez is asking for, he's asking for a verbal agreement, because generally, right, the way boxing, the mechanics of the boxing business work is, the two parties will come to a verbal agreement, right? Then after it comes to a verbal agreement, then there's a term sheet. Sometimes the term sheet gets first, but then there's a term sheet that specifies, okay, venue, weight, date, all that stuff. Then after you go over the term sheet, you can either sign the term sheet or you could negotiate things in the term sheet, and then you come to an agreement, and then that's how you get a fight done. So this is not a term sheet. This is not an all-out term sheet, because it's very vague. It's saying it could be in Vegas or it could be in Nevada. No, when you're negotiating a fight, there's no could be. It's either you say the arena, you say the venue, you say where it's at. So what they want to know is if Xander will fight. Xander is giving them, he actually answers the question in this tweet. He says yes. But he says, come meet me in Puerto Rico. So they're negotiating a fight in the media, which I don't believe you should ever do, really, but it's happening because, dudes are shooting off at the mouth and these kind of things. What I'll say is this. The fight, do you guys think that Xander versus Vergil Ortiz is a pay-per-view fight? Because as great of a fight as I think it is, I don't think that's a pay-per-view fight right now. It really isn't. So them putting it on pay-per-view, to me, is a bit ass backwards, but that's just me. But yeah, Xander gave Eric Gomez in his tweet what he was asking for. He gave him a verbal agreement, but he just said, hey, fight me in Puerto Rico. So it sounds like to me that there's a lot of negotiation that needs to be had, because Vergil Ortiz is the contender who hasn't been in a world title fight or won a world title, trying to dictate and give the champion a deadline. And that's just not how it goes. Unless you're Canelo Alvarez or Floyd Mayweather or like a megastar like Naoya Inoue, not like 9 times out of 10, you don't. That's not how this goes. So that's just the truth. So that was the first tweet in regards to that whole screenshot of the email. Then Vergil, right? Then good old Vergil Ortiz, he comes out, and Vergil Ortiz, it says, look, he says right here, what exactly is so unfair about the offer? It's 50-50. You have time to recover and train for December, and it will be in neutral territory. Don't run away now. You have 3 days to agree, and we haven't heard a thing from your side. Now, look, what's unfavorable about it is that, number one, I don't know if y'all, for those of you guys who have never been to fights in the West Coast, like California or Vegas, where these fights in this letter were supposed to be at, that's not neutral territory. I'm gonna tell you that right now. That is not neutral grounds. There's gonna be like Vergil's from Texas. Vergil Ortiz is from freaking Texas. So Texas ain't that far from Vegas. Vergil's gonna have the majority of the crowd if they fight. So that's not neutral. So that's a lie. And yeah, and as far as it being unfavorable, like you are the contender. You are the contender. You are not the champion. So you don't dictate terms to the champion. And I keep that same energy. Unless you're Canelo or Inoue or somebody who's bringing in like insane amounts of money in a fan base, that's different, because those guys, there's an extra incentive to be the B-side to those guys if you're the champion. And beating those guys does more for your career as a champion than beating anybody else in boxing, because of who those guys are and what they bring with them. So I don't know, man. That's where I stand. I really don't like all this posturing. That's not really, in my opinion, that's not really an offer, because a real offer is when you have concrete details. Eric Gomez was asking for a verbal agreement, which he got, because Xander said yes again. So this is 2 times. Xander said yes back in, what was it, December or whatever it was, before Vergil fought Madrop, and he said yes again. Now the 2 parties got to come and negotiate and see what it is. And look, Dan Rafael, esteemed boxing journalist, he said right here, he said it, and I quote, he said, the comedy this for a fight that won't happen is that it was contemplated as a pay-per-view. And again, it is not a pay-per-view fight. It's not a pay-per-view fight. Love Xander, love Vergil. Think they're both bringing a lot to the sport, but this is not no damn pay-per-view fight. So that's where I stand. But anyway, let me get some comments, because I see we got a lot of comments, man. There's a lot of people here. Let me see. Oh man. All right, let me see. Update on friend of the channel, Hertwich Adelaide Mundo Boxing Gym. Right now, I mean, they're fighting tomorrow. So tomorrow we have that Saudi card. So I'm not gonna go live for the card, but I'm gonna go live right after the card. So right after Mosley, Tomlin, Dillian White, and when that whole card concludes, I'm gonna come right on here and I'm gonna go live. I'm gonna go live and I'm gonna get my reaction to it live. I'm gonna get my reaction to it after the card is done. So I'll be live for like an hour or two on that day. You know, am I gonna make a vid about Noah versus Ford? Probably after it's done. I'll do that. Boots said no. Top guys were available, but we see Vergil is in negotiation with Lubin and Xander. Make it make sense. There was plenty of guys available. The thing is, there was nobody available for the money that Eddie Hearn was offering. So that's really, when he says that, that's how I interpret it. Why Xander ain't try to negotiate? He could have sent a counteroffer. Well, look, Xander's not a manager. Xander's manager is Peter Kahn. So I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Maybe I need to go ahead and call my boy Peter Kahn and see if we can get him on the channel or something and see if he could give us an update. Because this is just fighters and promoters trying to negotiate and posture in the media. This is not a negotiation. Real negotiations happen behind closed doors. Most boxing negotiations happen over dinner, believe it or not. They happen at dinner. They happen on, they don't happen like over social media. So, yes, sir. BT been in the lab lately, and I'm here for it. I'm late today, though. Hey, it's all good, champ. It's all good. It's good to be in the lab. It's good to be seen. Nobody should pay to watch Vergil fight Xander. Exactly. That's a fight where both fighters are really, they're great upcoming, or they're guys that are well on the way to becoming stars in boxing. But that's a fight that you have on a good platform that's not pay-per-view, so that these guys can get the exposure and be seen by as many people as possible, so that if they deliver a great fight, it has the biggest impact possible. So yeah. No, that's not neutral. That is not neutral. That's not neutral. If you're doing Vergil versus Xander in Vegas, that's not neutral. That's not a neutral site. To be honest, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but if there was ever a fight that needs to be in Saudi Arabia, this fight should probably be in Saudi Arabia, because I don't think that Vergil should have to come fight on the East Coast, because Xander's going to have the majority of the crowd if they fight on the East Coast. And I don't think Xander should have to go on the West Coast and fight Vergil, because he's going to have the majority of the crowd if they fight over there. I feel like they should go do it in Saudi. That's the only real neutral territory, really and truthfully. Because I've been to Vergil fights on the West Coast. He sells tickets. Like Vergil is gonna bring people from Texas and Dallas and Fort Worth and Grand Prairie. They're gonna make that trip to Vegas. In my opinion, I don't think that's a neutral territory. Anybody who's been to Las Vegas knows that, like, there's hella Mexicans over there. So the majority of the crowd will be in favor of Vergil. Did I catch Odabek Komatov's ring sparring? He looked good. He was in that event. I didn't even know that Odabek Komatov was in the Ring Magazine sparring event. I watched like the first 20 minutes of it or so, and then I tuned out. No, I didn't see it. I have to go check him out. He should be getting fights. He's good enough to get fights. He should have to be doing all that stuff to try to get fights. He's ranked. He's one of the best featherweights out there. But it is what it is. We're in a very interesting climate in boxing. Ooh, see, I like this right here. You know what? I'm behind this. This so far to me is the comment of the live. This makes the most sense. My man Vibe Calisthenics says that they should do Vergil versus Xander in Chicago. And you know what? I like that idea. That's not too far in the East. That's not too far in the West. That's right in the middle of America. That's a fight town that's a boxing market. That's a great fight town that needs big fights. And I love Chicago. Is one of the best cities in America. I'm not from Chicago. I don't got family in Chicago, so I got no reason to hype up Chicago. But it's one of the best cities in America by far. And it has from what I know about Chicago has a very big Mexican population. If you go to the areas of Chicago like Cicero and Berwyn, a lot of Mexicans in those areas. And then Chicago also has, fun fact, Chicago is one of the only government recognized Puerto Rican communities in America, which is Humboldt Park. So there's hella Puerto Ricans in Chicago. There's hella Mexicans in Chicago. It's a great fight town. It's a place that's starving for big fights. I think if they do that fight in Chicago, which they should do, because look, Golden Boy is Vergil's promoter. They just did Kendrick Sims Duarte in Chicago. They do this fight in Chicago. I think that's where it makes the most sense. Fuck Vegas, fuck New York, nowhere else. Give me Chicago. That's what we need. Vergil Ortiz versus Xander Zayas in Chicago. I don't want to hear nothing else. That's where it should be. That's probably the main boxing market in America where I can honestly say there's going to be an equal amount of Puerto Rican fans and a lot of Mexican fans. Because like I said, I've been to Chicago. I'm very familiar with Chicago. I know about like the Mexican areas of Chicago because one of my good friends in the fight game is from Chicago. That's Adrian Granados. Adrian Granados is from Cicero. So I know like that whole area, Cicero and Berwyn, that area is hella Mexicans. And then I know from going to Chicago, because I had a stretch in my life where 2015, 2016, 2017, those 3 summers in a row, I went to Chicago every single year for those 3 summers. So I know about Cicero, Berwyn. I know about Humboldt Park. I know people don't really understand how culturally diverse Chicago is. Chicago might be the most culturally diverse city in America. A lot of potential in Chicago. So I'm with that. Let's do Vergil versus Xander in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Aviation hub, 2 airports. I hear they made house music. Yeah. Chicago's got a lot of culture, and Chicago, like I said, Chicago hasn't had a lot of big time fights over the last 10, 15 years. But if you go back and you look at the history of boxing and the fighters that have come from Chicago and the fights that have been in Chicago, there's been some great ones. So yeah, I like to see boxing in America start to lean more upon the Chicago boxing market. And I think for this particular fight, that's the only place in America where I feel like it would actually legitimately be neutral grounds, because you're going to have enough, Mexican fans and Puerto Rican fans and then, of course, hardcore box fans that'll just be interested regardless of ethnicity. So yeah, but nonetheless, let me go ahead and continue talking, get into this talking point. Listen, guys, make sure you smash that like button. It's your boy BT, Brennan Taylor, the untouchable True School Sports Empire, True School After Dark. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and definitely super chat. We here, man, giving you guys that world-class boxing talk and trying to make sense of all this madness in the fight game, trying to make sense of all this madness in this sport that we love oh so much. So, yeah, anyway. Pivoting into the latter parts of this talking point, Vergil Ortiz continues by saying, if it doesn't happen, it's because he being Xander, it's because he doesn't want it. He's had that offer for 3 days. You guys are only hearing about it now because we said something. So there you go. So that's what Vergil says. And then, Eric Gomez comes out, the president of Golden Boy, and he says, "I've been doing this a long time. I've never had a private email offer posted. It's a sign of the times, I guess, or desperate for an excuse. I know this. If a fighter and a promoter really want to fight, they make it happen. They don't. They make excuses." Hashtag Team Vergil Ortiz. Now listen, man. I like both fighters. I want to see this fight happen, but like why are so many people falling for the bullshit? Like, Vergil Ortiz is the contender. You can't do that unless you're Canelo or Inoue or a superstar who's bringing in like tens of millions of dollars, and you can't do that. That's not how this works. So I just feel like it's them trying to get more publicity and whatever, jump interest for the next Vergil fight, and fair play to them. But it's a sign of the times. It's the sport we're in, I guess. But what do you guys think? Because I feel like, my opinion is this: Xander gave you a verbal agreement. He said yes again. This is the second time Xander Zayas said yes. So if Vergil Ortiz is really about that smoke, and if he's so confident, because everybody just makes it sound like it's such a for sure thing, he's gonna go in there and just beat up Xander Zayas. So if it's really that easy, who gives a damn? Who gives a rat's ass which city they fight in? Who cares if they fight in Vegas or California or Puerto Rico or New York? If the champion, which is Xander in this case, is telling you, yes, come to Puerto Rico, go to Puerto Rico and beat the shit out of him and become world champion. It's really not that hard. It's really, really not that hard. It's not, You know, I don't get it. I really don't get it. What do you guys think? Anyway, what do you guys think? Because I'm beside myself. The bullshit continues. Yeah, man, it's all bullshit, and it's crazy because it's crazy because I don't know, man. I'm 154 is becoming like the new. It's becoming like the new 147. Like there was a time where all these guys at 47 were fighting each other, and like now 54 is doing the same thing. It's crazy. And everyone keeps saying Xander's the weakest champion, and Xander's he keeps telling you guys he ran down on Fundora. Fundora didn't want to go fight him. Fundora went and fought Zoo. You know, they came to him with Vergil the first time. He said yes when he was the contender. Then he won a world title. Vergil tries to fight him again, right? He says yes again, but he's telling you now, okay, I'm a champion now. Come meet me in Puerto Rico. Now it's an issue. Like, come on, man. He says yes, because you ninjas been lying forever. Who lying about what? Lying about what? Be specific. They kill me talking like boxing is NATO. Stop it. Let the boxers box respectfully. I want to see the boxers box. I do. I want to see the boxers box, but I'm not stupid. Like I know how the boxing game works, and I know that the majority of the time, unless you're a big megastar, contenders don't dictate the champions. That's just not how it works. So my thing is, okay, if Xander's saying yes, but you know, fight him there, then just go do it. Just go and beat him. The way everybody talks, everyone talks like Xander's some sort of punk, and Xander is the weakest champion, and Xander's this. Okay, if it's that, if he's really that, go in there and show it. It's not that hard. That's what I'm saying. Like everyone wants to talk about. Everyone, this is why I don't tolerate disrespect for Floyd Mayweather, because man, Floyd, before Floyd became the face of boxing and was the biggest star in the sport, he took short money. He believed in his skills. He took the fights against De La Hoya when he was the B side, and you know what? He made sure that when he got those big fights, he kicked ass and he showed out and he put himself in that position. Then once he got on that driver's seat, then he could dictate and do whatever he wanted to do, because that's how the game works. But a lot of these guys don't really believe in their skills like that. It's just the truth. A lot of these fighters, the majority of them, don't really like believe themselves like that. So who is Zayas gonna fight now? I mean, I've always thought, I've been telling you guys for a little bit of time. If you've listened to me talk about Zayas, I've been saying I think Xander is gonna go ahead and he's gonna fight Josh Kelly. I think I've always thought that Josh Kelly was the guy that they were gonna fight in Puerto Rico, because Kelly. Let me see. Let's go to screen share real quick. Let me pull up these rankings real quick. Let me pull up these rankings, because I've been saying this for a little bit of time now. Like when Boots, when Kelly got the offer from Boots, you know, I didn't actually think Kelly was going to take the fight, but I knew Boots was going to try to fight Josh Kelly. But I've always thought that Kelly and Zayas was going to be the fight to make, because for one, you know, Kelly for Zayas, you know, he's somewhat of a name, and he's a safer opponent. And like I'm not stupid. Like I know Top Rank is in a state of transition now where they're going to get a new TV deal. Top Rank's going to get a new TV deal. And there are certain fighters in the Top Rank stable that they're going to be a little bit more careful with, not because they don't believe in them, but because these guys have a high star potential, and they're going to do what they do, and they're going to build a star in Xander Zayas. So he's going to do his first defense, and it's not going to be against no killer. I've always thought that. So I've always said that all Xander Zayas' team has to do is tell Paco Valcarcel, the president of the WBO, just tell them and say, look, make Josh Kelly a mandatory, make Kelly a good offer. Kelly will accept. He'll fight Josh Kelly to do his first defense in Puerto Rico. That's why I've always thought he's going to fight. As you guys can see, if you look at the WBO rankings right here in the right corner, Xander is the champion. The number 1 spot is vacant. Number 2 is Jorge Garcia Perez, who we just beat. And Josh Kelly is there at 3. But he's really, even though Kelly is 3, he's really number 1 because he beat the guy who's ahead of him. And, you know, the number 1 spot is vacant. So really Kelly is the number 1 contender. And, you know, I think that's the fight. That's the route they're going to go. I don't think he's going to fight any of the champions or anything like that right now. I think they're going to, you got to remember, man, because these fighters, especially a guy like Xander, think about him first. He's a special case because he was the youngest fighter to ever sign a contract at Top Rank. He signed a contract with Top Rank at 16 years old. So it feels like Xander Zayas is really older than he actually is, because we've seen Xander Zayas from his pro debut to now on TV, and we can't really say that for a lot of fighters. Even some of our favorite fighters like Jaron Ennis or even like a Vergil, these guys weren't getting their pro debuts on network television or big time platforms. So they pumped millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars into his career. So best believe they're going to be very, very smart with how they move him. And so I don't think they're going to fight any of those guys right away. So yeah, Josh Kelly, Puerto Rico, that's why I think he's going to fight next. And to answer your question, you know, yeah, I digress. We had a super chat from my boy right here, End Conquest, with a $2 super chat. He didn't say anything, but he just showing that love and support. So, hey, appreciate you, champ. Thank you for the support. And yeah, man, it's just a crazy thing now. It's an insane state of affairs that we have in boxing these days. Stuff like this is why Turki Al Sheikh has been able to come into boxing and have such an impact right away, because you know fighters in America can't seem to get on the same page and get these fights done. And it's because a lot of these fighters are delusional about their actual value. You know, you need people on your team that keep it honest with you. Like, that's what I try to do. Like with the fighters that I know personally, like, you know, because I get fighters that call me sometimes that I know, and they'll ask me questions, and I'm honest with them. I'm like, look, you're not worth this right now. You know, this is really where you're at. Sometimes they don't want to do things. I tell them, look, this is really what you need to do right now if you want to get to this level. And I don't bullshit them. But not a lot of people in life, they're ass kissers, and you can't be an ass kisser in boxing. If you're trying to help these fighters get to the next level, you can't. So anyway, shout out to my man Al Powell. He says they need to make a league for just Europeans so they can just stay with themselves. They ain't going 12 with Hispanics or blacks. Ukraine, I'm not gonna talk like that, bro. There's some great fighters that aren't. There's plenty of great white fighters in boxing that are not black or Hispanic. We know there are a lot. We know that the lion's share and many of the great fighters in boxing are black and Hispanic, but that doesn't mean there aren't fighters from other parts of the world. So I ain't gonna go ahead and entertain that too much. Eric Gomez sent Xander's team the private offer, which Xander and his team should have sent a counter offer. That's how things work, not on social media. Well, we don't know. We don't really know if a private offer was sent. I think what I'm going to have to go ahead and do is, because I got Peter Khan's number in my phone. I haven't talked to Peter in about a year. I got to call Peter soon myself for some business affairs on my own for myself in boxing, and just catch up with him, because that's my guy. We haven't spoken in about a year. So I might need to hit up, contact him soon and see what the deal is. Maybe I'll ask him to come on the channel, see if he can explain what's going on, because it's insanity what's going on right now. Anyway, listen, guys, I want to pivot into Bakhram Murtazaliev, because you know a lot of people like to discredit Bakhram and they say that he's not that good. And you know, truth be told, I don't know how good Bakhram is. I know Bakhram was good enough to win a world title, so that counts for something. Anybody in boxing who can at least touch a world title did something right. If a fighter wins a world title, it means that him and his team, somewhere along the way, they got something insanely right. You know, other fighters that aren't that good that win world titles, every now and then, yes, you get your guys like Vincenzo Gutierrez and you know some very weak world champions. But for the most cases, if a fighter wins a world title, it means him and his team did something insanely right along the way. So that being said, that applies to Bakhram, and he showed it when he fought Tim Tszyu, and he knocked out Tim Tszyu. And ever since the Tim Tszyu fight, you know, he has a belt. He's a world champion, but he's getting treated like he's just a contender, and it's really sad what's happening to Bakhram, right? So let's talk about Bakhram. So he tweeted this in the midst of all this Xander and Vergil talk and all this Xander and Vergil back and forth. You have Bakhram Murtazaliev, the IBF champion at 154. He's tweeted the following, and I quote: "The fearless few of the 154-pound division." So he's laughing at these guys because, you know, these guys, he's probably looking at all these fighters that are going around him, like Josh Kelly, Erickson Lubin. You know, you got Vergil Ortiz, who, you know, has a coach who trained him, who personally trained the guy, would know him better than anybody else in the division. You know, they're not really trying to make the best efforts in the world to fight him. So right now, truth be told, a lot of these fighters 54 are looking like some straight hoes, not fighting Bakhram Murtazaliev. That's just the truth. They look like some hoes right now, and I hate saying that because I don't think Bakhram is like I don't think Bakhram is this like pound for pound fighter or anything like that. But damn, you guys are making me think he might be a killer. And I understand the risk ain't worth the reward in terms of money. Maybe the money might be low. He's not like known of a name, but look, the guy is a world champion. And I'm sorry, if you're one of these fighters like Vergil Ortiz, if you're one of these fighters like Erickson Lubin, you cannot be dragging your feet not fighting a world champion because you never won a world title. And you win a world title, that puts you at another pay grade. Like Erickson Lubin ain't no superstar. Vergil Ortiz has a good fan base, but he's not no superstar. So it's like, you need the world title. Like, people want to diminish world titles and belts, but you need but before you can become a superstar, you need to win a world title. There's never, unless you're talking about Ryan Garcia, who's a very unique case and really is not a serious fighter, even though he's very talented. Unless you're Ryan Garcia, you need to have you need to at least at the minimum win a world title to be on track to become a superstar in boxing. Doesn't matter who you are. Before Floyd Mayweather became a pay-per-view attraction, or Canelo, or even De La Hoya, what did they all do? What was the first building block in their career? They all won a world title. But you got these guys at 54 who have never won a world title, turning down and avoiding Bakhram Murtazaliev to fight each other. And it's making them look like some hoes, and it's making him look like a killer. And he might be more beatable than people realize right now. So it's crazy. But anyway, why do you guys think people are ducking Bakhram? Because I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I think really more than anybody else in the weight class, I feel like Vergil Ortiz should be running down on Bakhram. He should be running down on Bakhram. And I'm gonna call my boy Talkers. Shout out to Talkers. Make sure you guys go follow Talkers on Twitter. He's probably one of the best accounts on Twitter for boxing. But he made a great point here. He said Bakhram fucked up the money, man, and now nobody wants to go near him. And it's the truth. This happens in boxing. This happens in boxing. Sometimes a fighter, an underdog, somebody that the boxing industry doesn't think a whole lot about, will get a fight against a fighter who a lot of money is invested into. He'll beat the shit out that guy to either become a champion or a mandatory, and he won't get any opportunities despite being in a great position. I remember years ago, to bring his name up again, I remember when Adrian Granados, about 10 years ago, when he upset Amir Imam. For those of you who were following boxing 10 years ago, Amir Imam was one of the biggest upcoming names in boxing. Many people were pegging him to be the next champion at 140, the next kingpin of the 140 division. He took a stay busy fight against Granados in late 2015, and Granados stopped Amir Imam, and Amir Imam was never able to really recapture that form ever again. And Granados was supposed to get a world title shot and never got a world title shot. And I've spoken to Granados over the years about why he never got that world title shot, and from what he's told me, I'm led to believe that he didn't get that title shot because he fucked the money up. He beat Amir Imam, who Don King had a lot of money invested into, and sometimes these promoters, they get mad and they call the sanctioning bodies, or they got friends there at the sanctioning bodies, and all they gotta do is wave the magic wand, and fighters that you guys think should get title shots don't get title shots. So it's very possible that because Bakhram beat up Tim Tszyu and ruined the money for PBC and many parties involved are not going to allow Bakhram to move his career along like you would think. That these things do happen in boxing, guys. The boxing industry has people that they want to win, and they have people that they don't really care about. And when somebody that they don't care about puts themselves in a position to where now they have to care about it, now they have to invest, now they have to move them along, there's always going to be a bit of a power struggle. So yeah, it's very, very possible. But yeah, you guys, these 54 pounders, Bakhram might be mid. It's very possible that Bakhram might be one of the most mid fighters in boxing. And you got these champions making Bakhram look like he's the biggest killer in the world. And then the last thing I'll say about Bakhram, right? The last thing I will say about Bakhram before we just get into the other part of the live is as you guys can see, shout out to Chilltown Boxing. He says, and I quote, I need Eddie Hearn to save face here, cancel this idiotic Lima fight, and send Bakhram the contract. Boots versus Bakhram, do Lima versus Josh Kelly on the undercard. Now, look, it's crazy that this guy tweeted this. That I seen a few people on Twitter today were tweeting this. And today, I don't know if you guys saw, but shout out to Coach Malachi Williams. I actually called into Coach Malachi Williams' show today for the first time. I was on there for about 8 minutes. 7 or 8 minutes, and I said in my call, I said, look, if Eddie Hearn is really serious about getting Jaron Ennis into a great position, can't cancel the Lima fight, because they can do that. They can cancel the Lima fight and send Bakhram a contract. Make him an offer, and if you have to, overpay him. Because if you really believe in your talent, if you believe in Jaron Ennis, if you believe that he's really one of them ones, if you really believe that he's a special, dynamic, pound-for-pound star, then you go ahead and you make this fight happen. Because he's free. Bakhram is free. These guys ain't trying to fight him. It could be for a lot of it. It could be because they're not getting offered enough. It could be because they're scared of him. It could be, I don't know why they're not fighting Bakhram, but for some reason they're not fighting Bakhram. So I feel like, you know what? Even though I know Eddie Hearn and Boots are not going to do this, I feel like this would be such a power play here. This would be one of the biggest power moves that you could make in the career of Jaron Ennis. Because if he goes there and he beats Bakhram, that changes the whole narrative. That it goes from Boots being looked at as one of the biggest ducks in all of boxing to now Jaron Ennis is the realest fighter at 154, because in his first fight at 54, he went up to the guy that nobody was trying to fight, and the guy that beat the brakes off Tim Tszyu and took his title. And now that puts Boots in a position of strength, because he beats Bakhram. Now he's the IBF champion. He's someone that now can be in a better position when he goes to negotiate these big fights. Because I really feel like if Jaron Ennis keeps doing what he's doing, and I also said this on the Malachi Williams show on the True Media Today podcast, I also said that if Boots keeps doing what he's doing with these fights, like against guys like Lima, and David Avanishi, and these kind of fighters that the general public outside of Philadelphia really is interested in, what's going to happen is people are going to get tired of him, which people are doing. People are getting tired of him, and when he has to actually fight somebody outside of Philadelphia, he's going to be in the B side, because he's lowering his market value. He's lowering his market value by being in fights that the general public outside of Philadelphia does not care about. And truth be told, I know the Lima fight is bad, because I've seen plenty of people from Philadelphia say, you know what, BT, I like Boots. I'm from Philly, but I'm not biased. This fight is not a fight that I'm interested in. And Lima might be a good fighter, but the thing is, he's not known. So it's like people aren't interested in it. It's not really getting anybody excited. So now Boots has to promote Lima. Ain't that some shit? Boots has to promote his opponent. But I digress, guys. That's my whole thoughts on all this madness at 54. Shout out to all these fighters. I hope in the coming days and months that these guys can go ahead and make these fights happen, because we want to see these fights. My bad, guys. My bad. I clicked out on accident. But what I was saying is yeah, like we want to see these fights. We want to know who the best is, and if all these fighters keep turning down fights at Bakhram, if Boots keeps just fighting uninteresting opponents in Philadelphia, if Vergil keeps acting like he's this cash cow of boxing before he's even won a world title, this division's going to hell. In fact, the division might be in hell right now as we speak. So I'll go ahead and leave it at that. But shout out to everybody here. We're about an hour in. We got an hour left to go. Make sure you guys smash that like button. It's your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire, True School After Dark. Right now on ProBox, the William Foster the third fight in Yakubov fight just ended, so they're gonna announce the decision soon. So we'll see who wins that fight. But yeah, man, it's crazy times. It's real crazy times in our sport. They're saying Vergil versus Lubin. Well, they're saying it's Vergil versus Lubin if, I guess now Xander turned it down or whatever, so allegedly. So if that is the case, then Vergil's going to fight Erickson Lubin. What's that dude's name that checks the box rec and says if they got suspicious record? I wonder if he has one on Zayas. You're talking about Jeremy Fiorentino. That's his name. And I met him. You know, I met him in New York. Good dude. Really cool guy. Good content. I think Xander's beating some good fighters. I think you guys are being harsh on Xander's resume. Like, I'm not sitting here saying it's the best, but like it's not. He hasn't fought 22 bums. There's maybe 5 superstars in the entire world of boxing. Exactly. But for some reason, every fighter with a world title damn near in boxing thinks they're a superstar, and that's not the case. The only superstars in boxing really are Canelo, right? Canelo, Inoue, Tank, Anthony Joshua, and I guess you could say probably now, because he's become a bigger star since the Spence win, you could say Crawford. But other than that, that's really where it ends. And if I missed anybody, y'all can let me know. And by the way, for those of you who aren't watching Pro Box, Mohammed Yakubov just got a majority decision victory over William Foster III. So good win for him. Shout out to him. The fighting pride of what flag is that? Tajikistan. You know, he just beat William Foster III. So William Foster III suffers his second professional loss. Lost to Henry LeBron in 2023. Now he loses to Yakubov. So I got to go back and watch this fight. But that's what happened in the Pro Box TV main event for those of you wondering. But let me see what else we got. People aren't ducking Bakhram. They're ducking the IBF rehydration clause. You know what? I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of all these fighters in every damn weight class ducking the IBF rehydration clause. Maybe you guys should move the hell up and fight in your actual weight class. You know, because Vergil Ortiz, like I said earlier in the live, if he can't make 154 already and the IBF rehydration clause affects him already, he needs to move up. That's how I feel. If you're in a weight class and you just got there and the IBF rehydration clause is affecting you, move up. Because it means you shouldn't be at that weight. Tired of it. All the IBF champs are avoided. All sanctioned bodies need to do same-day weigh-ins, or the IBF needs to drop it. I wish every sanctioning body in boxing operated like the IBF. Honestly, they actually they're not perfect. They be on some bullshit too, just like anybody else. But they actually honor the mandatories more than anybody else. The way the rules are structured, you can't. It's harder to be a weight bully. So it's like I fuck with the IBF. I like the IBF. Well, why would you want to get your head busted by Bakhram when you can duck and get more money versus the worst opponent? It sucks, but that's how it goes. No, I get it, but for these fighters that have never won a world title, that go around, because I don't really follow Erickson Lubin because I can't follow Erickson Lubin on Twitter because he blocked me on Twitter, but I still see his tweets. Like, Erickson Lubin is always going on Twitter talking about how guys don't want to fight him, and Xander had an easy route, and he was babied, and this, that, and the third. And it's just like, bro, you were literally offered a world title fight. You're offered a world title fight. You have a chance to do something you've never done in your career, and you're avoiding a life-changing opportunity that if you win it, like if Lubin was to actually beat Bakhram, even more so than a guy like Vergil or Boots, the narrative of his career would be way different. He would be in a whole new tax bracket, and he'd actually, for the first time in his career, would be in a position where he could actually dictate terms to fighters because now he's a world champion. When you're a world champion, it puts you in the strength of power because everyone in the weight class that's not a champion really wants what you have. So maybe even if you're the smallest of all the names in the division, you're still gonna be in that position to tell the contenders what to do and don't want to fight you, But I rest my case. Let me see. There was a tweet I was looking for. I saw Steve Kim tweet something interesting, but I can't find it right now. Where is it? Oh, here we go. I want to share this with you guys because Steve Kim, right? And I know Steve Kim. Some people like Steve Kim. Some people don't like Steve Kim. I've always been. I like Steve Kim. I think he's a good. I like some of the things he says. I enjoy his tweets and I read a lot of his articles over the years. He's one of the OGs of boxing. But anyway, Steve Kim tweeted this about a couple hours ago, like 2 or 3 hours ago, And this is actually a direct statement from Egis Klimas, who manages Bakhram Murtazaliev. He stated the following, and I quote. So Egis Klimas just made this statement about the 154 division, and I quote, Erickson Lubin is always talking about how he never turns down a fight, but now we have a few days left till Tuesday, till the purse bid. He is the IBF mandatory to fight for the world title, and he is already turning down a fight for the world championship, and he's negotiating for some other non-title fights. What the fuck is going on? And you know, I don't agree with everything Egis Klimas said. I personally think that Johnny Beck has been on some foolishness at middleweight, you know, but in this case, he's right. Like, Egis Klimas is 100% right. Like, how are you in a position to fight for a world title and you go on, like, I see it. I see Erickson Lubin on Twitter talking all this stuff about, oh, they don't want to fight me. This guy had it easy. That guy had it easy. I only fight killers. I do this. I do that. And, you know, now it comes time to step up to the plate and fight for the world title. And you want to fight another non-world champion for more money. So it's like, are you really what you say you are? Are you really one of them guys? Are you even world championship material? Should we even take you serious? You know, it's a legitimate question, because any fighter who's never won a world title, that purposely pulls themselves out of a chance to fight for a world title, I don't want to hear it. I'm not. Now, if you're a guy who's won a world title and you made some like real money in boxing, then okay, I can understand. You want to fight a bigger name in a non-world title fight, and you can just, you know, you can win that fight and, you know, fight for the world title after. I get it. But if you never won a world title and you're in the latter stages of your career, you know, time is running out, time is ticking, you're not getting any younger, bro. You need to fight, brother. You need to step up to the plate. You don't need to be doing all this bullshit. So I'm with Egis Klimas, and I'll read it to you guys again. If you didn't get the first time, I'll read it to you guys again. This is a direct quote from Egis Klimas about Erickson Lubin and the Bakhram Murtazaliev fight. He said, I quote, Erickson Lubin is always talking about how he never turns down a fight, but right now we have a few days left till Tuesday, to the purse bid, to face Murtazaliev. He is the IBF mandatory to fight for the world title. He's already turning down a fight for a world championship, and he's negotiating for some other non-title fights. What the fuck is going on? And I 100% agree with them. Like, these non-world champions, like, and you know what's crazy? And I always tell them this, so I'm not gonna say anything that I haven't said to this person, you know, in person. But my boy Angelo Leo, he's ruined my perception of a lot of fighters, because he really like walks like he talks. I've seen him take, you know, $70,000, $90,000 pay cuts, $100,000 pay cuts. You know, really put his ego to the side, because he really believed in his skills to take these fights, win these fights, and look, he became champion again, right? And now he's in a position where he's making good money again. So I feel like with him, in more ways than one, he has ruined my perception of a lot of fighters, because I'm exposed to such a high standard of how a champion really conducts themselves. And then I sit here, right, every day, and I talk about all these different fighters who people hype up and say is this and say that, but they don't really move at a standard that I'm accustomed to seeing, right? So it's like, I'm like, damn, like, really? I know how a champion conducts himself, because I'm around it pretty frequently. And, you know, a lot of these guys that the public and the world thinks are so special aren't really championship material. So I'll leave it at that. All right. Lubin fought people. He did. He won. Like I'm not saying Lubin has fought Fundora, which is a top opponent. He fought Charlo when he probably shouldn't fight Charlo. I'm not saying Lubin is a coward or anything like that. My thing with Lubin is like, bro, you are at the latter stages of your career. You've already taken a lot of damage. You need to fight for a world title, because if you fight Vergil and you go lose to Vergil and you get beat up by Vergil, you definitely not getting a world title shot. You're gonna have to rebuild again to become mandatory, because people are not going to fight you if you're not a mandatory, because you're not a big name, right? You're not a big name. You're not bringing in all this money. And you're actually good. Like, Lubin is actually good. So they're not going to fight him unless he's mandatory. So if you lose to Vergil, you lose your mandatory spot, and you're looking at years of rebuilding back. So that's why I'm saying you need to go ahead and fight for the world title, because if you take, even if you're not making a lot of money, even if the pay isn't great, if you get that title around your waist, now you're in a whole other tax bracket. Like, don't you want to be in a different tax bracket? Don't you want to make money? Don't you want to bring world title fights back to Orlando? Like, I know Lubin's from Orlando. Don't you want to eventually have like a title defense at the Amway Center with a Magic play? Don't you want to do something historic for the city of Orlando? Like, if you can't do that, like, you're not gonna have a chance to do any of that if you don't actually go win a world title. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm at with him. In my opinion, did Lubin beat Ramos? No, I thought Jesus Ramos beat him and beat him clearly. But you know, it is what it is. It's boxing. Sometimes you don't get the decisions. And it's like life. Things don't go your way sometimes. So in this era of vacant belts and belt holders with less than 6 months reign, being a champion isn't as impressive as it once was. You're not wrong, and I agree with you. Like, it doesn't mean what it used to mean. But look, every weight class in boxing, with the exception of like the lighter weight category. So like everything, like most weight classes in boxing, there's about 1,000+ fighters in a weight class, and in heavier weight classes like, you know, middleweight or like welterweight or heavyweight, sometimes you have damn near 2,000 fighters in a weight class. So if you're telling me if you can be in the top 4, because if you're a world champion, in my opinion, you're in the top 4. If you could be in the top 4 out of potentially 2,000 people, that still counts for something. And guess what? The world titles is where the money is at. The world titles are what the networks look at. The world titles are what's used to market these fights to the networks. So it doesn't mean like winning a world title now doesn't mean what it meant to be the heavyweight champion when Joe Louis was champion. I get all that, but it still does count for something. And you know, it shouldn't be discredited and it shouldn't be written off, because for every fighter in boxing, until you become like a Canelo or an Inoue to where you're bigger than the belts and your name supersedes winning the belt, for every other fighter, for 99.9% of boxing, those world titles are your ticket to the big time money that you want to make to change your family's life and your career. So I'll leave it at that. 130 and under is the true definition of boxing. Yeah, and people always ask me, they're like, BT, man, why do you like midget boxing? They'll say things like midget boxing. They'll say, BT, why do you cover all these cartoon characters? Because, well, first of all, these guys fight each other, right? Because they have to, you know. If there's 1,500 fighters at welterweight or 154, there might be, you know, 700 or 800 light flyweights. So the top guys have to fight each other in order to make any money. And there's always this stigma that, you know, they're always fighting uphill battles to win critical acclaim and universal respect from the boxing public, the lighter weight categories, because the people will say things like, well, we don't want to see these 115-pound guys fight. You know, they're too small, right? But the thing is, once these guys go on there and start fighting, you know, you can tell it's the real shit. It's the real deal. So that's why you got to tip your cap to guys like Bam Rodriguez and Ken Shiro and Oscar Collazo and Naoya Inoue and Roman Gonzalez and all these guys, man. And the reason why I enjoy those weight classes is because the fights happen and they're really exciting. But you know, it is what it is. Lubin chooses the WBC interim. Thank you, Rap Machine, and shout out to you. Good to see you, champ. Shout out to Philippines and Filipino boxing. But that's what I'm saying. You're choosing the WBC interim title over the IBF championship. Like, come on, man. Make it make sense. Robert Garcia said Vergil can't make weight under the IBF. Well, then move the middleweight. Then move the middleweight. That's how I feel, man. Like, if you can't make the IBF weight, go move the middleweight. You know, I'm tired of these fighters moving up, and they have one fight. They'll have one fight at that weight class, or sometimes 2 fights. You know, and they'll be like, okay, now I can't make the weight anymore. Like, come on, man. Get a nutritionist. You know, get a nutritionist. And take all the proper precautions to make the weight. And in this case, even if like you're the IBF or trying to fight for the IBF title, just do everything you can to always put yourself in the best position. A lot of times too, a lot of these fighters can make the weight with the IBF rule, but a lot of them don't want to hire a nutritionist. Some of these, I know. Listen, I'm not gonna say no names, but I know fighters and I've heard of fighters, and I've seen fighters talking about it in the gym over the years that have money, that have the means to go hire a legitimate world-class nutritionist that can help them make the weight healthily, and they don't even try. They don't even make the investment in themselves. So it's like, I'm not saying Vergil's one of those guys. I don't know. For all I know, he probably does have a nutritionist, but I'm just tired of everybody using the IBF as an excuse, because it's happening way too much in boxing. Lubin been fought from Dura and Charlo, but where's Boots at? Only casuals talk about the light division like the toughest. Only casuals talk like that about the light divisions. They're the most toughest and most skilled and hungry. They are, 1,000%, 1,000%. You know, for me, that's why I really enjoy those weight classes. Some people joke around and say, BT, the main reason you like those guys is because you're the same size as those guys, and that's not true. It's funny though. It's funny when people say that, but no, that's not true. It's because these guys out here fighting and they're delivering time and time and time again. And I know people will say, you know what the funny thing is? People will say, oh, well, there's not as much money available in those weight classes. But, man, Naoya Inoue is making more money than a lot of these guys at 147. A lot of these guys at 54, 60. I bet you Naoya Inoue, I know for a fact Naoya Inoue is making more. Naoya Inoue makes more money by himself than all the champions do combined. That's how big of a star he is. And he's short. Like, he's small. I've seen Inoue's not no big guy, but he's a big money fighter. The IBF rule is stupid, not because I don't like it, because the other three don't do it. Either do it all or none do it. It's just another reason why fights don't get made. I understand it, but my thing is like, and I'm with you. Like, I wish all four sanctioning bodies would get on the same page, and get organized, and figure out like, okay, are we gonna do the IBF or we're not gonna do the IBF? I wish it was like that, but unless you've been in the weight class for a long time. Which in Vergil's case, Vergil Ortiz has not been at 154 for a long time. He's been at 154 for at maximum 2 years, about 2 years, which is not a long time. So my thing is, if you just got to a weight class in the last 2 years, you shouldn't be complaining about the IBF rule. And if you are, that lets me know that you might be too big for the weight class and you might need to consider moving up, because it shouldn't affect you. And I keep hearing dudes keep saying, "Oh, the IBF, the IBF." No, it ain't the IBF. You just don't want to. You don't want to fight. Lower weight classes, skilled and so tiny that the tiny woman with no power. Clarissa is not the best pound, only if you don't watch chicks. Clarissa Shields is the best women's fighter. I know people don't like her. She's definitely the best women's fighter by far. It's not even close. She's like a 37-time world champion. Whatever that, 17 times or 18 times. She's great. But women's boxing, I'm not as big of a fan of it as I used to be, but I hear you. The truth is, Vergil doesn't want any. Nah, man. Listen, I'm tired of that excuse. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of him making that excuse. I'm tired of Bruce Carrington making that excuse. I'm tired of a lot of guys making that excuse. The IBF this and the IBF that. Richard Hitchens. No, you don't want to fight Super Matias. That's what it is. You don't want to fight. Because a lot of these dudes have the means to hire the best nutritionists. And they don't even do that. And a lot of them don't want to do that. Those little guys leave it on the ring. I never seen them putting on the stool or missing weight. It's very rare. It's very rare. A lot of the deaths that have been happening in boxing have been in the lower weight classes for that exact reason. Nah. She's the best. I'm sorry. She says, no, she's not the best pound women's boxer. Smaller girls have more skills. I don't want to debate, but Cecilia Brækhus, and I know she's old, but skill-wise, it's not close. That's not true, because when Cecilia Brækhus fought Jessica McCaskill, she got the brakes beaten off of her multiple times. And Jessica McCaskill, she's a good fighter, but Jessica McCaskill's a come forward, volume puncher. Clarissa Shields will never lose to a fighter with a style like that. Sorry. Do rich people in Japan live in the city? Which city? There's a lot of cities in Japan. There's Yokohama. There's Tokyo. Yeah, of course. It's like anywhere else in the world. I was told that Usima Lima is the IG Caballero of the division. Do you agree? No. I watched him fight. I went and I watched him fight. He's a heavy-handed southpaw with equally heavy feet. He's beaten some good fighters at the European level, maybe at best you could say fringe world level. He's, in my opinion, he's closer to David Avanesyan than he is Ajit Kabiel, and that's why Boots is fighting him. Hey, BT, do you know if there's any city, region, or gym rivalries in Japan, like in the UK and America, things like NYC versus LA or Manchester versus Liverpool? Yeah, the big rivalry in Japan, I would probably say, is Tokyo versus Osaka. Tokyo versus Osaka. Those are the two biggest major cities in Japan. So I would say probably that Tokyo versus Osaka, or yeah, that's the big one. Tokyo versus Osaka. Am I watching Mizuki Hiruta fighting now? No, I'm not. I'm not watching it now. But when this live is done, I'm gonna go watch that whole card. So shout out to Mizuki. She's a great fighter. But yeah, guys, I done ran through my whole talking points. So I got like 40 minutes left. So listen, it's True Squad After Dark. You guys can ask me whatever you want. It could be boxing related. It could be non-boxing related. You guys ask, and I will do my best to answer. Make sure you guys smash that like button if you're new and you like the content. Go ahead and subscribe and definitely super chat. We here giving you guys that world-class boxing content 3 days in a row. yeah, TCP, tell them. I almost forgot. The biggest rivalry in boxing it's not Osaka versus Tokyo. You're right. The biggest rivalry is still Philly versus Angola. That's right. Philly versus Angola is taking a dump on all these rivalries in boxing. That's what we want to see. The rumor is that Anthony Russell is fighting Hitchens. He can't be ducking Andy because it's unification. Well, there's all kinds of rumors I've seen floating around. I've seen a rumor floating around that he might fight Andy in the fourth quarter of the year on the PBC card. So we'll see. I don't believe that. I really don't believe that, but that's what I've seen some things about that on X and Twitter and whatnot. If Gary fights Hitchens, I'm not gonna be mad at that. That's a unification fight. They fought in the amateurs. They're both really elite fighters. I like that fight. But I would rather see Gary fight Andy Hiroka or Matias. I think stylistically, those are more entertaining fights. What do I think about Lubin versus Ortiz? If it winds up happening, I think it's a good fight. But I think both of them, both Lubin and Vergil, they're showing a big reluctance. In Lubin's case, he's just outright ducking Bakhram because he's literally supposed to go to a purse bid for the Bakhram world title fight. But I feel like they both are avoiding Bakhram and they're making him look like a killer. I don't even think Bakhram is like I don't think Bakhram is better BF. I don't think Bakhram is like Bivol or one of these top elite Eastern European fighters. But these guys at 54 are making Bakhram look like the biggest killer in the world because they don't want to fight. The rumors are that Gary Russell was fighting Hiroka in December. There's all kinds of rumors with Hiroka and Russell. I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't really think that's a fight that Gary Russell is over the moon about. Because Andy Hiroka is not like a massive name. Andy Hiroka is not even a massive name in Japan, to be honest with you. Like he's a good fighter, but a very good fighter, but he's not like he's not Junto in terms of popularity. He's not Junto. He's not Inoue. He's not like Kenshiro. He's got some room to grow his name. So I think Gary will look for other fights, and that fight for Gary will be his last resort. Any word on Andy Cruz versus Raymond Murataya? As of right now, no, there isn't any word. But one thing I will say about Raymond Murataya, I saw that there's this Japanese fighter who's ranked. He's like the best lightweight in Japan. His name is Shu Utsugi. You guys are going to be hearing about him soon because he's ranked pretty highly in a lot of the sanctioning bodies. He was out in California recently, and him and Raymond Murataya were doing some sparring. So that's the most recent news I've seen on Raymond Murataya. My man, Lord Zed says, I like Clarissa. Hell, I'd marry her, just to be clear, but whatever. Everyone on 154 has a post, and she can't make it no more. Go figure. But my thing is, bro, Clarissa Shields, she fought Savannah Marshall, right? Savannah Marshall is one of the top fighters out there. Clarissa Shields' pro debut was against Franchon Cruz, right? Franchon Cruz is one of the best fighters out there in women's boxing. She beat Franchon Cruz in her pro debut. Hannah Gabriels was a former world champion. That was a tough fight. She got dropped in that fight. She came out. She got off the canvas. She beat her. So my thing is, Clarissa Shields has proven her. Like Clarissa Shields did most of the heavy lifting in her career very early in her career. Some of the best fighters she fought in her career were in the first like 10 fights. But yeah, respect to you. He said he'll marry Clarissa Shields. He wants to be with the champ. My man Lloyd said wants to be with the champ. He said, I want to be with a real black woman. Shout out to Clarissa Shields. Marshall was great win, but nothing since. I mean, listen, women's boxing in general, like if we're just being honest, it's not just Clarissa's weight classes. The majority of the weight classes are pretty thin. Pretty thin. Women's boxing doesn't have the depth of talent like, men's boxing. Are there really good women's fighters? Yes. Are there really talented women's fighters? Yes. Respect to them. They're in that gym, putting in their hard work, and they deserve some respect, but it's not the same. It's not anything close to the same as the men. My man said, Papoose got hands, Lord. Said, yeah, you better watch out. Papoose might come get you. He might come over the top ropes. What did Papoose say in that one song? He said, brothers of death, you ain't understand. I got New York City in the palm of my hands. Papoose put them hands on you. You tried to clutch your shields the wrong way. Bang! Papoose coming over the top rope. Gonna beat the brakes off you, champ. So watch your words. Watch your words. You act like Subriel Matias is gonna beat Dalton Smith. Okay. Keep talking. Keep talking that shit, Harold, about Subriel Matias. I'm tired of everyone. Everyone likes to sit here and talk trash about Subriel Matias, but these guys don't want to fight him. That's even more so than Bakhram to the 100th power with Matias. Everything I've said about Bakhram, like, times it by 100 with Matias. These guys don't want that smoke for real. Shout out to Dalton Smith. He's stepping up to the plate. He want to fight. Good for him. Dalton Smith's a good fighter. He can punch. I think he does have some firepower from Matias, but again, does he have the gas tank to deal with that volume that's coming at him? Well, we shall see. But that's a good fight, and hopefully Matias wins so he can get the big fights that he deserves. BT, who are my top 5 favorite rappers? That's a great question. I'm a big people. A lot of people don't know this, but I'm a big hip hop fan, so I'm always listening to hip hop. There's a lot of rappers. I would say right now. I mean, at one point in time, I would have said Papoose was my top 5. Like when I was in high school, I used to listen to a lot of Papoose when I was in high school, like a while ago. But right now, I've been listening to like a lot of like Larry June. I've been listening to Larry June a lot. Yeah, you know what? I think I want to give you a top 5. I'll say right now, the main rapper I've been listening to a lot of has been Larry June. He's got a lot of good songs. Yeah, talk to him. Talk to him, Laura said. You got the secrets. Talk to him. It's because he's Puerto Rican, and so are you, Harold. What are you talking about? See, you know how to troll me, Harold, because you know that I don't even like most of these Puerto Rican fighters these days. You know for a fact, I've been accused of being a Puerto Rican fighter hater for so long, bro. Most of these like Matias might be like one of 4 Puerto Rican fighters I like in boxing right now. It's not because he's Puerto Rican. It's because he's a real fighter. He's a real fighter who really, with the exception of Liam Paul, because I don't know what he did going into the Liam Paul fight, but that wasn't Matias. That wasn't Matias in that fight at all. But he lost, so it is what it is. If he didn't train or was drinking and doing whatever, that's on him. But for the most part, he's a pretty consistent fighter, and he's always looking for the smoke. So that's why I like him. Mizuki Hiruta is up next. I heard a lot of good things about her. Interested to see how she performs. She's very good. I actually saw. I met her for the first time earlier this year when I was at Misako Boxing Gym back in February or January or earlier this year. I met her, and she spoke a little English, so we spoke very briefly, and she was very nice. I know she's training out there in California with Manny Robles, so she has good coaching, and I think she's probably one of the only women's fighters that I probably will watch because she's actually pretty good. How does a Puerto Rican end up with a name like BT? Well, BT's my initials. My name is Brendan Taylor. My last name is Taylor because my dad was adopted. My dad was adopted when he was younger. And his foster mother's name was Taylor. So that's how I got the name Taylor. But my dad was literally born on the island. My dad was born in Rio Piedra, Puerto Rico. So if you trace back the roots, that's where it's at. But that don't mean that I'm biased to every Puerto Rican fighter. In fact, if you even ask my dad himself, he'll tell you himself, BT is the harshest on Puerto Rican fighters. Are you going live for the fights tomorrow? I'm going live after. As soon as the fights end, I'll be going live here to get my reaction. So I'll be here for like an hour and a half, 2 hours after the fights to go ahead and give you guys my opinions. Do I think Tito Mercado steps in as a replacement for Steve Claggett? How do you think a fight between Jermaine Ortiz? Oh my God, that's a good fight. If Ortiz and Mercado fight, wow, that'd actually be a really good fight because Ortiz, he's one of the better 40-pounders out there. I thought he actually beat Lomachenko, for being honest, and they screwed him. They screwed Jermaine Ortiz because they wanted that Devin Haney fight to happen, but that's neither here nor there. That's the kind of fight that would really put Mercado, in my eyes, on another level. I think Mercado can stop Jermaine Ortiz. Mercado's really good, and I think Jermaine Ortiz is a good boxer and a good mover, but you can catch him. Sometimes he over maneuvers himself. Sometimes he moves too much and gets caught. Look at when he fought Adorno. He was moving and bouncing on his toes, and bang, he got caught. So I feel like Mercado can do the same things. Mercado's a better fighter and more educated than an Adorno. I like that fight a lot, actually. I hope it happens. If Goodman wins or Ball looks poor, in a way takes care of MJ in a good manner, do you think they would go to featherweight for that fight in December? That's a great question because I want to say yes. I want to say yes. In a way might look at that fight as an easy fight to pick off a belt because Goodman can box, but Goodman doesn't have a bunch of power like that, and he's not a volume puncher. So Inoue will be able to fight the way he likes to fight, which is being at mid range, darting in, darting out, getting that good extension on that 1-2 down the middle, just being that explosive, structured boxer puncher that he is. So I want to say yes, but because Goodman pulled out the fight not once but twice, I feel like they probably won't do it, just because if that's happened to them twice, you're running the risk of Sam Goodman pulling out again and going for the hat trick and doing it again. So I don't think they want to risk that. No one wants to fight or mention Gary Anton Russell's name. That's not true. No one, and I won't say no one. I think Matias will fight Gary Anton Russell. I think Matias will fight Gary Anton Russell. And I think, as far as Teofimo, Teofimo's on some weird stuff, and who knows what Hitchens is trying to do. But I think Andy Hiroka will fight Russell, and I think Matias will fight Russell. He just calling out the wrong people. Will I be the special advisor to Layla if she fights Clarissa so we can get a close look up at Layla? I mean, so can you help her win? No, listen. I'm not no miracle worker. She's been out of boxing for years. She can't be Clarissa. Hiroka wants Russell, and he's done everything in his power. Yeah, like Hiroka became the mandatory he's been mandatory for a long time now. But the WBA ordered the fight in May. They ordered the fight in May, and the deal was supposed to get done by July, and then we just never heard anything again. So I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what's the status of what's going on with Hiroka. I'm not sure if they've already negotiated the fight behind closed doors. There's rumors that supposedly they're going to fight later on this year in Riyadh season. So we'll see. I want to see that fight because Andy Hiroka needs a big fight, and that might be the best fight in the division stylistically. That fight. Gary Antoine versus Hiroka and Gary Antoine versus Matias are both stylistically for me, for my money, the two best fights in the division. You know. My man Jazz says, "Hey BT, can you get my glove signed by Leo?" Oh, I could ask him. I could ask him. Shoot me a DM on Instagram and remind me, because I'll be forgetting things. I got a lot of things going on these days. So shoot me a DM, and then I'll tell Angelo. I'll ask Angelo, and then if he says yes, which I'm sure he will, because Angelo's pretty good with the boxing fans. He's probably like one of the best fighters in boxing with the fans, because I never seen him turn on a picture or an autograph. That's one of the reasons why I got so much respect for him, because he carries himself like a champion inside and outside the ring. So just send me a DM and I'll ask him for you. He called all of them out, bro. They don't mention Gary's name, bro. Subra Matias literally had a face-off with Gary Anton Russell in Vegas. They literally did a face-off in Vegas. So forget a call out. He literally looked the man dead in his eyes. So yeah. I think that I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Gary. I like Gary. I hope Gary goes ahead and fights. If he fights Hiroka or Matias, I ain't got no problems. Am I gonna watch Kenneth Lovera versus Luis Concepcion tomorrow? Yeah, if I can find a way to watch it, I would love to watch it. I'm not even sure what time they're fighting, but I'll love to watch that fight. Kenneth Lovera is one of the upcoming future stars of Filipino boxing and one of the top contenders in the bantamweight division and one of the most exciting fighters in boxing. So yeah, I want to watch him fight. He's taking on a former world champion. Why not? Why not? He would stop Roach. Who would stop Roach? Russell? That'd be a nice fight if they did Kid Austin versus Russell. Like my thing is, look, Gary Anton Russell has a style where you could put him in there with basically anybody. You could name just about any fighter in the 140 division, and it's gonna be he's not gonna be in bad fights, because Gary Anton Russell can box, he can punch, he's got speed, he's got power, he's got a lot of tools in the ring. So his career is in a great position. I just hope that they make the fights that are going to push his career forward, because I like Gary Anton Russell. Even though I give my boy Hyro a hard time about him, I like Gary Anton Russell. Hitchens is the only one scared to fight Russell. I don't know. We'll see. I don't have an opinion on that. I'm gonna wait and see. You're funny, Harold. Matias wants to fight Tio. I think Matias just wants to be involved in a big fight. Teofimo Lopez right now would probably be the biggest fight out there for him, and that was a fight that was supposed to happen, and Teofimo Lopez turned that fight down and turned down Brian Norman Jr. and turned down a whole truckload of fights. Like a lot of these guys been turned down fights. They're not really as serious as they make it out to be. What are my predictions on Lubin versus Ortiz and Rocha versus Jose Ramirez? Are Rocha and Ramirez fighting? That's a good fight. Well, I'll answer that one first. I like that fight. Alexis Rocha, I thought beat Raul Coriel, and they screwed him. And as far as Rocha will beat Ramirez. Ramirez is a shell of himself. I don't really believe that Ramirez wants to box like that no more. I feel like he lost his love for the game a couple years ago. So I'm gonna go with Roach by decision. And then as far as Lubin Ortiz, I'm going with Vergil by stoppage. That will be Lubin's last world title fight. If that fight actually happens, I got Vergil by stoppage. What's the drama if Zayas versus Gael de Oro is on? What is the deal with Vergil Ortiz? Well, the drama, I don't know if you saw it, but the drama is that Vergil is out here trying to say that he made Xander this offer and that Xander's ducking him. Which, how are you a contender who's never been a champion and you're gonna make the champion an offer? That's not how boxing works. Now as far as Xander versus Giovanni Santillan, because that's who Gael de Oro is. That's a random ass fight. That is such a top rank fight. Oh my God, that's about as top rank as you can get. Like that's a fight that nobody asked for. You know, I like Santillan. I'm a Giovanni Santillan fan. I think he's an honest, hardworking, blue collar fighter. You know, he doesn't cheat the fans when he goes in the ring. He's a true warrior. He always gives it his best. And even though he got knocked out in brutal fashion by Brian Norman Jr., you know, I still think he's a good fighter. So I wouldn't mind seeing him in a big fight, but I don't want to see him go to 54. That's pointless. Why are you gonna make Xander fight Santillan 54? That makes no sense. You know, give me Santillan versus, I don't know, name some 47 pounders. Give me Santillan versus Road to 2. Give me Santillan versus Guriel. Give me Santillan versus Barrios. Give me Santillan versus just a lot of guys. Give me Santillan versus Jin Sasaki. Give me Santillan versus some of those type of guys, you know? What's good, Joel? He says, "Sup, guys? I'm late tonight. I was watching my Yankees, BT. Shout out to you, man." Speaking of baseball, let me see if these bum-ass Marlins won. Of course, the bum-ass Marlins didn't win today. You know, they haven't been doing too good. Ever since the Marlins stopped playing the Yankees, they've been losing to everyone. So, you know, such is life. But good to see you, Joel. That's a hell of a question. Whatever happened to Ray Robinson? That's a great question because Ray Robinson, you know, a lot of people thought he beat Josh Kelly when Josh Kelly was a big-time prospect in boxing. What happened to Ray Robinson? The Ray Robinson from Philadelphia, the new Ray Robinson. It's a hell of a question. When was the last time Ray Robinson even boxed? Is he still boxing? Let me see. Ray Robinson fought in October against some guy named Andre Bird in Philadelphia in a 6-rounder, and he won. He's only fought 2 times since 2019, since having that draw with Josh Kelly. So I don't know, man. He's probably been frozen out because he's a high risk, low reward guy, and there's no money in fighting him. What Robert Garcia trained fighter has a brighter future, Oscar Duarte or Giovanni Santillan? Ooh. Now, personally, like from a skill standpoint, I like Giovanni Santillan more. I think Santillan can do more in the ring. But Santillan took a vicious, and I mean a vicious and potentially life-changing beatdown by Brian Norman Jr. So you just never know how it's going to go. I would say right now you got to go with Duarte. He's a little fresher. But I like Santillan more, but I would say Duarte just because he's a little fresher. Sasaki needs to retire considering what happened to Jinjiro. That's not happening, champ. I already know he's Sasaki, I think he just posted something yesterday. I think he said he has like another medical or brain scan he's gonna do soon. Yo, I bet you guys, if nothing, I bet you Sasaki fights before February of next year. I bet you he fights before February of next year. But I've spoken to his team. I've spoken to Sasaki's team, and you know, I've given them my opinions on some things. Hopefully they go ahead and they heed what I was telling them, but we'll see how it goes. What's up with Ryan Valenzuela? Did Russell beating him take that much out of him, or is it the drama? Is there drama with Jose Benavidez Sr.? You know, all these fighters, all these fighters, when a fighter takes, you know, a devastating loss, and in his case, you know, he didn't just lose to get Anthony Russell, he got the brakes beaten off him. He wasn't even competitive, and Raya was on his high horse. So when you lose the way he did, you know, it does something to a fighter's psyche. So I would just be led to believe that Raul Valenzuela is probably just taking some time off to figure out if he still wants this. Because when a fighter loses like he does, that question pops up in a fighter's head of, yo, do I really still want this? Do I want to continue, you know? Oh, okay, he's on Team Combat League, so he's on the Philadelphia Smoke. Yeah, shout out to Team Combat League. Shout out to all the Team Combat League warriors like Jesse Hart and my personal favorite Isabel Lopez. Shout out to Team Combat League. Looking back on it, Santillan was on PEDs versus Rocha. He never looked that energized. He was probably on PEDs versus Norman. Looking back, he ate all of Norman's shots for 9 rounds. He'll be on PEDs versus Xander. Listen, I told you guys what my stance on PEDs is. I don't put it past any fighter, even the fighters that I know personally, even the fighters that I like. You know, cheating is that prevalent in boxing that I don't put it past a soul. That being said, I've went back and I rewatched that Santiago Norman fight, and I'm gonna tell you guys this. Yo, that version of Santiago that Norman knocked out was insanely tough. I'm not even. I don't think Devin Haney could have beat that Santiago because, as you just said, he was eating all those punches and he was super strong and he was pushing Norman back. And Norman is, listen, guys, Norman is country strong. He's super strong. I've stood like 10 feet from that punching bag when he punches the bag, and I've seen a lot of fighters at all levels hit the punching bag. His power is different. And so for Santiago to punch him back, to push him back at all in that fight, that will show you and that will tell you, how strong of a fighter he is. Xander will look very, very bad if he doesn't stop Guile de Oro at 154. Honestly, I don't want to see the fight, but I think that could be a trap fight. I think Santiago's not small. Like, Santiago is big at 47, and I would say at 54. Let me see. Let's Google it. Let's Google it. Google's our friend. Let's look at the on paper measurables. How big is Santiago? Because from my recollection, he's pretty damn big at welterweight. He's got to be pushing at least 5'10". I'm gonna say he's like 5'10". There's no way he's under 5'10". Maybe he's 5'9" at the shortest. Okay, he's 5'8", so I stand correct. He's 5'8". I feel like he's bigger though than 5'8". Maybe I'm wrong. I guess I'm wrong. He's 5'8". I thought he was bigger than that. I know Xander is bigger than that. What is Xander, like 5'10", 5'11"? Maybe Xander's 6 feet tall. What's Xander pushing? Xander's like 5'10". So Xander is pushing 5'10". He got a 74-inch reach, which by the way is pretty long. Xander's reach is about an inch or two longer than Boachuk, so 74 is pretty long. Santiago, we know his arms are not as long as Xander. He's pushing a 68.5. So yeah, you know what? I don't doubt Santiago because I think Santiago is very, very tough and he's very game and he's gonna throw a truckload of punches. But I think I think Xander should beat him. Xander should beat him. There's a reason they're picking him. But I like Santiago. I think he's very tough. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Guile de Oro. Anthony Mazzano, longtime viewer. What's good, champ? Good to see you. What's up? Santiago was like a minus 500 in that Norman fight. Yeah, he was the favorite. He was the favorite. And it's funny. It's so funny hearing like these Devin Haney fanboys come and say like that Norman hasn't fought anybody. But like we all know, if Devin fought someone who was 32-0, who coming off of the Alexis Rocha performance, oh my God, we'd never hear the end of it. They gassed up Jojo Diaz, like Devin did something with Jojo Diaz. It's a good fight, man. Who do I think will win that fight? I haven't even really thought about that fight like that yet. I would say probably right now, I would lean slightly towards Lester Martinez, but that's tough though. To me, that's a true pick'em fight. You're talking about Lester Martinez, one of the most physically imposing boxers in the sport against one of the best bowling punches in the sport. It's probably one of the best fights. It's one of the best fights Turkey's ever made. Absolutely not. How can you duck a fight? First of all, how can you duck a fight when the contender doesn't dictate terms to the champion? That's not how boxing works. So you can't duck a fight, and how can he duck when he said yes? He said yes, I will fight you. Come to Puerto Rico, which he's well within his rights to say. He's a champion. Nobody told Vergil to go out here and fight Madrimov. Which, by the way, as I told you guys many times, that fight did nothing for his career. He beat Madrimov, and literally nothing happened in his career. So, don't get mad at Xander for having the more competent management team and going ahead and fighting for the world title. No one told Vergil to fight Madrimov. The fight was made in San Diego, Santiago's area to keep selling with him, and Norman came. Yeah, man, like Norman had a truckload of bad performances. Even me, I was hard on Norman. I was like, yo, Norman, because unlike most people in boxing, I knew who Brian Norman Jr. was back in 2019 because I knew Najee Lopez. I met Najee Lopez into 2019 because Najee Lopez came down to South Florida to spar a lot of fighters. And Najee Lopez is from Atlanta, and him and Brian Norman Jr. are like this. So I remember when I started following Najee Lopez on Instagram back like in 2019, he used to always post about Brian Norman Jr. And then I used to hear that name a lot in boxing circles. So when Top Rank signed him, I was like, oh shit, this is the kid that Najee Lopez used to always post on Instagram. So I started paying attention. But yeah, like he was gonna get the pink slip, and they were gonna drop him, but because he performed so well, and it was one of those vicious, memorable performances, you know, not only did they decide to keep him, they decided to really, you know, invest in him, like make real investment in him. So he earned where he's at in boxing right now, and you know, if he beats Devin Haney in sensational fashion, I think Brian Norman Jr. is gonna put himself in the running to become the face of American boxing. True. Do you see the Pro Box YouTube channel had a card on tonight? It was basically the younger prospects, up and coming guys. Yeah, I had it playing in the background, and I was like, I was looking over there a couple of times. I saw William Foster III lost to Yakubov. John Mindoro fought a complete can and knocked him out in like 3 or 4 rounds. Who else fought? Yeah, there was a couple fights I saw. I'm gonna go and watch it after this live is done, and really give my undivided attention to it. But, you know, shout out to Pro Box. Norman was very, very good. Norman was very, very good Santion, and he broke him. That's what Norman won me as a fan. That's what I'm saying. Like, I knew who Norman was, but for me, the jury was still out. Man, when I seen how vicious that performance was against Santion, I was like, yo, that was special. You know, that was a really, really special performance. And under those circumstances, to perform like that, knowing that, you know, your career is going to take a massive hit and you won't even have a promoter no more. Because, look, if Brian Norman loses that fight, he's going to be the B-side until he wins a fight like that. You know, he would have been dropped by Top Rank. He would have been used as like a stepping stone the rest of his career. So that was a very, very important fight. And to do it in this guy's hometown like that, I mean, you don't forget a performance like that. And then to see how he's built upon those performances, you know, the Derek Cuevas fight, and then what he did to Jin Sasaki, I mean, god dang. I mean, I know a lot of people don't think highly of Jin Sasaki, but Jin Sasaki is still one of the hardest punching fighters in the welterweight division. And, you know, I don't give a damn if you fight the biggest can in the world. If you knock anybody out the way he did against Sasaki, that deserves respect. So, yeah. What about Callum Walsh versus Vargas? It's a good fight. I feel like they both got a lot to prove. You know, Callum Walsh is, I think, going to become one of the most marketed fighters by TKO Boxing, because you got to remember, Callum Walsh was already kind of being promoted by Dana White because he fought, all of his fights were on UFC Fight Pass. They were already doing cards with him headlining at Madison Square Garden on St. Patrick's Day. Dana White would be there ringside. So they got money invested in Callum Walsh. They want him to win. Vargas Jr., you know, I know he can punch a little bit. He's obviously the son of Fernando Vargas. So, yeah, it's a cool fight. I got to watch a little more of Vargas, but I would say just off the little bit I know about Vargas and what I've seen in Callum Walsh, I'll lean slightly towards Walsh. I think he's a slightly bigger puncher. BT, what's the talk around Tomoya Suboy? You think he's gonna go far despite turning pro late? Well, they're fast tracking him. He won. I believe he won the OBPF title like in his second or third fight, which is like the fastest any Japanese fighter ever did. Tomoya Suboy also is like one of 2 or 3 fighters in the history of Japanese boxing to get an A-class license. For those of you who don't know, in Japan, when you turn pro, it's different than the States. Because when you turn pro in the States, you just get a license. In Japan, they have different classifications for licenses. So like if you get like a C-class license, you can only fight like in like 4 or 6 rounders. If you get a B-class license, like depending on what license you get, that determines how quickly you can fight in like 8-round fight to 10-round fight. So like for example, if you get an A-class license, you can turn pro straight away and start fighting at 8-rounders. And that's what Tomoya Suboy did. He's a good fighter, good counter puncher, very good footwork. Probably one of the most defensively sound Japanese fighters there is. I think they're gonna fast track him. I don't know how highly I rank him yet, but I think he's very good. I think he's better than a lot of Japanese young fighters, or I think he's better than a lot of fighters in Japan that are getting more hype than him. Zayas went from willing to sign to fight Vergil in 1 minute to 3 days to yes, but only in Puerto Rico, knowing a fight of this magnitude based on money alone is a U.S.-based fight. Why is it a U.S.-based fight? Listen, man, you can listen. Vergil is not a champion. That's what I'm saying. Like, you guys do it. I know we like Vergil. I like Vergil. I think extremely highly of Vergil as a fighter. He is not a champion. Like, they're not. Like, I know it's fucked up to say because Vergil's fought better fighters than Xander, but the reality is he's not a world champion. And contenders don't dictate to world champions. It doesn't work like that unless you're like Canelo or Inoue or like somebody big like that, and it's different. But I don't know. I don't know anybody can say the ducking. He literally said yes. So my thing is, if Vergil Ortiz is really about to smoke and Xander is this weak ass fighter, because the way Vergil talks like he's this weak ass fighter, right? A lot of boxing fans talk about Xander like he's this weak ass fighter, and really and truthfully, if that's the case, then go to Puerto Rico. Fuck it, go to Puerto Rico, beat the brakes off of him, and get the title. It's not that hard. Like, you don't put a Super Bowl in a high school field. I don't think this is a Super Bowl. Xander, see that right there is where you're going wrong. You think this is a Super Bowl. Golden Boy Promotions thinks this is a Super Bowl. It's not. It's a good fight between two young fighters, but it's not no pay-per-view fight. Why is Zayas calling for a Puerto Rico fight versus Vergil when he's never fought there as a pro or sold out MSG Arena, only headline the theater? Because Top Rank already said, literally, when he got out the ring against Jorge Garcia Perez, they already said that they want to do his first defense in Puerto Rico. So if Vergil's trying to fight Xander for his next fight, they're gonna do it in Puerto Rico. I'm telling you guys what I know right now. Xander's got probably the best manager in the whole sport of boxing. They're not gonna move off their plan for Vergil. So if they have the next fight planned in Puerto Rico, negotiate. Fight him in Puerto Rico. If you gotta take a little less money to go fight for the world title, go there, beat him, and put yourself in a position of power. He didn't tell you no. He just told you let's do it in Puerto Rico. How many times does Xander gotta say yes before Vergil fights him? Matias deserves more attention than Zayas. I agree with that. I'm a big fan of I'm a huge fan of Subriel Matias. I wish he was the most. I wish they put more marketing dollars behind him. Why does fighting in Puerto Rico make more sense than fighting in Vegas? Because in Las Vegas, Xander Zayas, who is the champion, is not gonna have. He's gonna have less of the crowd there. Listen, man, take it or leave it. He's gonna, with or without Vergil Ortiz, Xander's next fight is in Puerto Rico. It's not like they're lying to you. They told you guys in plain English after the Jorge Garcia Perez fight. You guys heard Bob Arum tell Xander, we want to do your first defense in Puerto Rico. So if Vergil really wants to fight, just say yes. Just say yes and beat him. And they're saying I sound kind of biased. That's the facts. So you can hate it or not. You can hate it or you can love it. It's the facts. Xander, with or without Vergil, is going to fight in Puerto Rico next. So if that's what Vergil really, really wants, go there and fight him. In fact, here's a true school advisory tip free of charge. Why don't Golden Boy and Top Rank do a co-promotion in Puerto Rico? Golden Boy Promotions has one of the top Puerto Rican stars. Put Xander versus Vergil in Puerto Rico, and then put Oscar Collazo as the co-main event. Boom. You got a mega event in Puerto Rico now. You got two of the best young fighters fighting for the world title, putting the undefeated records on the line, and then you got one of the best fighters in the lower weight categories fighting as the co-main event. And boom, you got yourself a great card. So I'm not biased. That's what the facts are. Nobody told Vergil to go out here and fight Madrimov in a fight that wasn't going to do anything for his career. This is what he gets for believing that Madrimov is this great fighter that was going to do something for his career. He big-timed Xander when Xander said yes when they were both contenders. So now that Xander's champion, the tables have turned. Such is life. Take it or leave it. Zayas has the qualities to be the next time Puerto Rico. Top Rank will not let anyone dictate to their asset. No, they're not going to. I like Collazo. I'm hoping Golden Boy can get him some better fights soon because he hasn't really fought. I mean, he fought Melvin Jerusalem early in his career, so I'll give him that one. Melvin Jerusalem was a really good fighter who became champion again, even after losing to Collazo. But I'd like to see him fight Melvin Jerusalem or Pedro Tajuron One of those guys, one of the champions. Start really looking for those belts. Let me see. BT, I understand Xander is a champion, but can Golden Boy jump in the negotiations and demand a fight to be in San Antonio instead of PR? They can try that, but like they're not in a position of strength. He's not the champion. If they wanted to dictate to Xander, they should have went and won a world title, but they're not doing that. Why don't they go fight Bakhram and get a world title and then come back and revisit this? It's not that. I mean, it's, of course, there's always a lot of details, and it is harder than what I'm saying to accomplish. If it was that easy, everyone would be in the boxing business and manage fighters. But like, there's a pathway. There's a pathway to get what you want. Just take the steps. Okay, then. That's my point. If he's favored, then who gives a flying fuck if the fight's in Puerto Rico? If the champion is saying, yes, come to Puerto Rico, then go to Puerto Rico. Like, who cares? Who gives a damn? Everyone likes to act like Vergil Ortiz is always about the smoke, and he has fought some good fighters, but now is the time to really, really be about the smoke. Matias' problem is that he is not signed with Top Rank like Cotto was, like Zayas or Mita. Bob Arum lost PR market. If Matias was a Bob Arum, oh my God! If he was with Top Rank, shit, it'd go crazy with Matias. Hold on, I saw a comment from Hyro. I gotta go ahead and He said Alex Saucedo was the A side and Maurice Hooker was the champion. That's a different story, because Alex Saucedo, at the time they made that fight, he was a fighter that Top Rank believed in. They thought that he had star potential because he was an all-action fighter. And at the time, Maurice Hooker was looked at to be a very, very weak champion, because before he fought Alex Saucedo, if I'm not mistaken, he fought Alex Saucedo in 2018 at the Chesapeake Arena in Oklahoma, because Alex Saucedo is from Oklahoma. 2 years before Alex Saucedo fought Maurice Hooker fought Darlius Perez on the Andre Ward versus Sergey Kovalev undercard. And a lot of people thought that Darlius Perez beat Maurice Hooker, and Maurice Hooker looked super regular in that fight. So he got a good decision in a lot of people's eyes in that fight. He came back. He fought against Terry Flanagan on the road in the UK in another fight where he was expected to lose. He beat Terry Flanagan, right, to become champion. But Top Rank saw something that they thought they could exploit with Hooker. So they overpaid Hooker to come to Saucedo's hometown, even though he was the champion. So that's a different scenario. What Top Rank did in that scenario is what Jaron Ennis needs to do, what Eddie Hearn needs to do with Jaron Ennis. See, Top Rank believed in Alex Saucedo, so they overpaid the champion to come to his hometown. Now, if Eddie Hearn believed in Jaron Ennis, like people like he says he does, he would overpay to get Bakhram to come to Philly, the same way Top Rank overpaid to get Alex Saucedo to come to Oklahoma. Now, it didn't go Top Rank's way because Maurice Hooker was better than people thought he was. He got hurt in that fight. He got dropped, but he got up off the canvas, and he stopped Alex Saucedo in front of all his friends and all his family, and started the process of ruining his career very, very early. So Maurice Hooker was a better fighter than he got credit for during his career. And then eventually, he lost to Ramirez in a unification fight, and then he was used as an opponent at 147 for guys like Vergil Ortiz, and he lost to Blair Cobbs as well. So that's a unique case. But that fight right there is an example of what a promoter does when they believe in a fighter. When you believe in your talent, you do what Top Rank tried to do with Alex Saucedo fighting Maurice Hooker in Oklahoma. When Danny Garcia fought Mauricio Herrera in Puerto Rico, who won in your opinion? Mauricio Herrera. They robbed the hell out of Mauricio Herrera. Mauricio Herrera should have been fighter of the year that year because he got robbed against Danny Garcia and he got robbed against Jose Benavidez. Mauricio Herrera has every right to hate the sport, because if he would have got those two decisions, his career would have been so much different. He would have made more money. He would have got more fanfare. He would have got more respect. So definitely Herrera. I have a whole video on that. If you go on the search bar and you type in Mauricio Herrera True School Sports, there's a video I did a couple years ago about how he got robbed and how he should have been recognized more around that time. But I thought he won. Crafty guy, hard to look good against. Yeah. BT, do you like the idea of Oscar switching Ryan out for T.O., or is that just switching out Headache for another one in your opinion? I think it's just I think it's the latter. I think it's you're switching out one Headache for another. I like Teofimo Lopez. If there was ever a fighter in boxing that I want to be biased for, is Teofimo Lopez, because even though he was born in Brooklyn, New York, and that's how he's marketed, you know, he did grow up in South Florida. He did he walked the same streets I walked, and you know, he even fought some of the guys in the amateurs that I used to spar with in the gym that I trained at when I was younger. So I love Teofimo Lopez. I want to see him do well. He's a part of the South Florida boxing scene, but as of recent history, he hasn't really been stepping up to the plate like that for the big fights. You know, he fought Barbosa, who was a good fighter, who was on a good win streak, but he hasn't really, you know, he hasn't been the Teofimo Lopez of 2020. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's been a while. But Mauricio Herrera got a gift against Hank Lundy. You say nothing there. Well, because you never brought it up. I thought he lost that fight. I thought Law lost Hank Lundy. Hank Lundy got screwed too. So if a fighter boxes long enough, most of the time fighters will get gifts and they'll get robberies against them. Kenshiro Taraji, who just fought Ricardo Sandoval and lost a close fight, I thought he won clearly. But, you know, if there was ever a fight where you could say he got a robbery, it was Carlos Canizales. So, you know, if a fighter fights long enough, then they're going to go ahead and, you know, probably more than likely they'll get a gift and they'll receive a gift. That's just how it goes. Boots could have fought Bakhram. Why did Boachuk turn down Boots allegedly? I don't know, but if I had to take a guess, it's probably because Eddie Hearn's not offering enough money. You know, that's the same reason anybody turns down fights, money. What did Vergil do to Herrera? He knocked him out in one round. That was a very faded, an insanely faded version. Please. It was a statement. I'll give him credit because Herrera is a crafty guy, and for Vergil being a prospect, it was a statement at that time. But let's not act like that was the Herrera that fought Danny Garcia or Jose Benavidez back in the day. It was very much past his prime Herrera. But, you know, just a statement nonetheless for that stage of his career. I'll give him that much. Yeah, because he didn't have a lot of power. Like, Herrera didn't have a lot of power, but he was real crafty. And he could smell their punches, and he could box a little bit. So, you know, sometimes he made fights closer than they should have been, you know. But I thought he won a lot of these fights. How did you come up with the name True School Sports? It's a cool name. I don't know, man. One day, like, many years ago, I was sitting in the library. I was sitting in the Dania Beach Library in my hometown, and I was just writing down a bunch of names for my YouTube channel. And I wrote that name down, and I liked how it sounded, and I just stuck with it. Because I've heard the term True School mentioned in like rap songs before, and I'm like, I was like, what the hell does True School mean? So I Googled it one day, and True School, I guess, just means like, kind of like it's kind of like a combination of the old school and new school together, which I kind of feel like that's me. Like, because I feel like there's a lot of things about me in life where I'm like very old school in my thinking, but I'm still like young, you know? So I guess that's how I came up with it. I just remember one day being in a library and writing down a bunch of names, and I liked how it sounded. Shout out to my guy, last 12 with the $2 super check. Says, BT, I don't think Turkey bends for T.O. T.O. is stuck. Well, Turkey hates T.O. these days because T.O. has made a bunch of remarks that he didn't like, and you know, Turkey took it as disrespect towards his country, and Teofimo Lopez even went ahead and said that you know, Turkey, I apologize. I'll hold your hand like Crawford did. So, you know, he's not on Turkey's good side. Right? He's not on Turkey's good side right now. Well, yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for the super chat. Has there ever been an A-side fighter to get robbed more of the times than Pacquiao? A-side fighter who got robbed more times than Pacquiao. Off the top of my head, because you said what, Marquez won, Bradley won, Horn, Barrios. Yeah, he got robbed against Horn. He got robbed. Yeah, those are all robberies by my account, by my books. One that got robbed more than him. Let me see. Well, first of all, I got to think of an A-side fighter who's got at least four losses. See, a lot of these guys these days, they don't even be in enough competitive fights to have four losses. So it's kind of hard to name. It's kind of hard to name anything. Tio didn't say anything about his religion. All he said was they would favor Devin Haney because he's Muslim. That's all. Well, yeah. Well, Turkey's sensitive. You gotta understand. Turkey, everyone bends the knee and kisses the ring and kisses his ass. So anytime somebody says anything that's like even minorly critical about Turkey, he's gonna be all pissy about it. So he didn't like that. Very crafty, my friend, and I really liked the Herrera after he beat Danny. Yeah, he like there's fighters that I see because I spent a lot of time in boxing gyms in my life, and sometimes I run into like older fighters that are retired, and sometimes you talk to some of them, and you can tell that a lot of them are only working in boxing because it's all they know, and they walk around very bitter towards the sport because they feel like they put in all the time and they should have won certain fights and they didn't get the luck of the draw because maybe they weren't the pick of the promoter's litter, so to speak. And he's one of those guys I feel like could be like that because he gets those two decisions. His whole career is different. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's whatever Tio did said worse than what Shakur referred to as towel heads in a tweet to Oscar or Ryan's tweet about Muslims. I don't know, man. Like, I really don't think that that's a bad thing to say. But again, I'm not sensitive about those things. Some people are, So, if Turkey feels offended, well, look, at this moment in time, unfortunately, he's the guy with the money. He's cutting the checks, so he makes the rules. So you want to do your best to not piss him off if you're trying to fight on his platform. Got to play the game. BT, do you think it was stupid for Eddie instead of promoting and building a card around Bam and San Antonio, trying to promote him in Philadelphia where Boots is from? Yeah, that makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense for Bam. But, hey, he had his line of thinking. Shout out to Eddie Hearn. That is true. But you know what? He did get some gifts too, though. I thought Felix Stern beat him. And I thought I thought Felix Stern beat him, and I thought Pernell Whitaker beat him. Malinaji got robbed against Artem Lobov. Now, I don't know, man, because I don't know how to score bare knuckle fighting. I remember I did a video about that fight, but I didn't know how to score it because I'm using boxing rules, and I don't know if the scoring is the same in bare knuckle. So I couldn't say, but I thought he won if I'm using boxing criteria, but he's not participating against Lobov in a boxing fight. Why didn't Eddie Hearn bring Boots in the UK? That would have been a great move. If he would have fought him, if he would have fought in the UK, that would have been, because we know British boxing fans, they come out and they support, and if you would have put him against a British fighter or something like that, that would have been cool. Like kind of do what Mayweather Promotions did with Tank all those years ago when they brought Tank to the UK for the fight against Liam Walsh. Would I say that Eric Morales was a guy that got robbed multiple times? Did he get robbed multiple times? Who do you think he got robbed against? Who do you think Eric Morales got robbed against? Let me see, because he definitely had enough losses to say that he did get robbed multiple times. Let me see, because he got knocked out against Pacquiao multiple times. Zahir Rahim schooled him, so like you could probably say maybe one of the Barrera fights, and yeah, maybe Maidana, because the Maidana fight, some people thought he won that fight. So there's a case you can make. John Ryder got robbed and got a gift against Jacobs. He didn't. No, he beat Jacobs. He didn't. He beat Jacobs. Danny Jacobs didn't come to fight that day. Danny Jacobs is over there letting John Ryder outwork him. Nah, man. I don't think he got a gift, but John Ryder did get robbed. He got robbed against Callum Smith. If I could cover any boxing scene in the States permanently, Vegas, SoCal, Texas, Midwest, or New York, what would I choose? Probably Southern California, because I really haven't had a chance to explore Southern California the way I want to, and I really have a lot of people in California I gotta go see, and I have friends over there that always ask me, they say, BT, when are you going to Southern California? And I just haven't had it hasn't come together yet. So at some point, I gotta go to Southern California. But why every time I mention Yoshinari Nakata's name, BT doesn't respond? Because I don't have an answer for you, champ. I don't really have an answer for you on that one. I don't have an opinion. I'm not even sure. I might be ignorant, but I don't even know who that is. So educate me. BT, is Bakhram the new Johnny Beck? No, because Bakhram's in a weight class where there's actually fights. But there's nobody ducking Johnny Beck because there's nobody to fight at 160. Johnny Beck should be going to 68. But they do have the same manager, so I could see why you asked that. Hyro says, am I one of the friends you want to see? Yes, of course, Hyro, for sure. Sergey Derevyanchenko has been robbed, but I know he's not the A side. Oh, I thought he beat Golovkin. But they wasn't gonna let him win. Shout out to everybody here. It's your boy BT, the Untouchable True School Sports Empire. We're live once again, talking boxing. Just having fun right now. Make sure you hit the like button. Let me see. It's 12:18. I'm gonna go for like 10 more minutes, and then I'm gonna get up off here. But tomorrow, guys, I will be live right after at the conclusion of the Mosley, Talma, Dillian White card, with all those fights on the undercard with like Ford and Nova and Hergovich, Adelaide, all those fights. When that card is done, probably within like 10 to 15 minutes, I'm gonna be live right here on YouTube, giving my live reaction post fight. So make sure you guys join. Watch out for that live tomorrow. Is there a young up-and-coming fighter at 135 coming out of South Florida I should be watching? That's a good question. Let me see. 35? I can't think of anybody at 35 right now, but I can tell you right now, as far as South Florida fighters are concerned, I would say Dominique Francis is a 130-pounder you should look out for. He's a good fighter. He actually just signed a contract with Fighters First Management, which is the same management company as Brian Norman Jr. So I think he's going to get some good opportunities here in the coming years. Him, you got Eric Tudor, who's still signed Golden Boy. He moved down to 147. So him. You got Daniel Bailey, who's moving down to featherweight. He's fighting John Paul Rivera next week. You got him. You got Luis Hernandez, who's at featherweight, who's pretty good. Who else we got? We got Lorenz Medina at heavyweight, who's still making his way up the ranks. We got some fighters, man. We got some fighters, but I wouldn't say anybody from 35. We got my boy Eric Lanzis Jr. at 140. So I would say those are a couple names. Is there any boxing scene in the world that compares to Japan? Southern California, from what I know, from a little bit I have experience, is pretty damn good. Philadelphia is great from my little experience there. I really do think South Florida has a great boxing scene, but it doesn't get the love that other places get. Vegas is great. Vegas is the fight capital of the world, so that's world class. But Japan's unique. From my experience, Japan is one of the most unique places in the world for boxing. That's why I really enjoy going there so much. Hergovich is lazy. I don't think he's lazy at all, actually. I think Hergovich is actually the opposite. I think Hergovich overtrains himself. I've seen him train. I feel like he's a fighter that overtrains himself. I just think his power is not like he's got solid pop, but he's not a world-class puncher. I think Hergovich would be better if he boxed more. He's got great boxing skills. He's got a great chin. He says, I know you hate Michael Hunter. Will Philip fight Martin McCauley change your mind about him? Changing my mind about who? Listen, man, Michael Hunter. I don't got no time for Michael Hunter because Michael Hunter was in a position multiple times to become the next face of American heavyweight boxing, and he talked himself out of it. Like he first of all, he fought as the co-main event on the undercard of Joshua versus Ruiz 2, and couldn't beat an older Alexander Povetkin. So I felt like that was the first opportunity he blew. Then about a year and some change later, he got an opportunity to fight Filip Hrgović, an IBF eliminator, and he pulled out of it. He ducked. So once he did that, he ducked that fight to fight Cans on Triller. So he put himself in this position. Michael Hunter would need to win at least 2 big fights with me to get in my good graces because it's like he's just done too much. Team Espinoza is going to 130. Leo needs to unify. And shout out to Team out here. Listen, I would love to see Angelo Leo unify. When did he say he's going to 130? You never know, guys. We might go to 130. If the right fight presents itself, we might go to 130. You never know what Team Leo has up their sleeve. But that's the fight we want. We want Espinoza. I would love Angelo to fight Espinoza. But right now, Top Rank's in a weird place. And I think Zanford Promotion wants to build Espinoza a bit more. So, yeah, I don't know, man. But look, Angelo's in a great position. There's a lot of great fights out there for him. If he can't get these champions, probably going to do a voluntary because he just fought Venado last August, and then he just knocked out his mandatory. So, fuck it. Let him get a voluntary. And then after that, we'll see what featherweight looks like. Because right now, all the other champions are on some bullshit. But shout out to you, Al Heyman. BT, I think the reason why Florida as a whole doesn't get respect for the boxing machine is because down here in Florida, general, most of the cities have major MMA gyms that they do boxing. Fair enough. Florida is known more as an MMA mecca than it is a boxing mecca. But man, Florida, the state of Florida as a whole has turned out some killers over the years. So I feel like, they don't get the credit they deserve. Where does Top Rank go? I mean, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea. Supposedly, they're gonna go ahead and keep their fighters busy on PBC cards or other shows until they secure a network deal. So we'll see. We'll see what good old Bob Arum has up their sleeves. Espinoza is going to 130. No shot, no payday. I don't know, man. Like I know Espinoza. From what I know, he hired a nutritionist, and from what I was told, he was making 126 very comfortable for his last fight against Edward Vasquez. So, it'd be a shame if he moved up. And the boxing boys is talking about it. Yeah, I heard him talking about it. But from what I know, because I know some people part of Espinoza's team. From what I know, as of his last fight, it was told to me in May that he hired a nutritionist and he's making the weight just fine. So all of a sudden now he's not making the weight just fine because now he might have to actually do a unification fight. Come on, man. I like Espinoza. Espinoza low-key is one of my favorite fighters in boxing, believe it or not. I think I love how he carries himself. But like you gotta get to the smoke, man. You gotta come see, your Angelo Leos and your Shushu Carringtons and these kind of guys. Hrgović by decision or KO? Which one is better? You see, I want to see KO, but the thing is, Hrgović, man, he be on some bullshit sometimes, like real sluggish. So I think the safer bet is probably gonna be the decision. But because I say decision, you can go bet the KO. He'll do the opposite. Shout out to my main man, Corey Lee Boxing. He said, "What's up, bro? Usyk is the GOAT, period. This is my 7th year in a row saying that, yeah. I remember you've been bigging up Better BF for a long time and Usyk, so shout out to you. I've been big on Usyk as well. Usually when fighters get nutritious, they're kind of BSing about making weight easily. I don't know, man. He said, listen. He said from what I was told as of May, I don't know what's changed from May to now, but from what I was told of May of 2025 of this year, Espinoza got a nutritionist and he can make weight just fine. So, I don't think he's a liar. So, I don't know, man. I hope he can stay around long enough for Angelo to get that fight, because I do think I know for a fact we can beat him. Have you ever sparred Sean Tatel? We played around, like we like shadow box sometimes and whatnot. We have fun, but never any real sparring. 126 is tops for Inoue. Yeah, I'm not even sure. Like, I love Inoue, great fighter, but I'm really skeptical that he gets through this Merjan fight and Junto unscathed. I think there's a great chance he's gonna lose his own in one of these two fights. Which one? I'm not sure, but it's gonna be one. I think now my fingers are crossed he doesn't, because you guys know, you guys hear me talk about it to the point where I've been annoying as hell for over a year about it. I don't even really care about none of these fights. Like, to be honest with you, I don't even care about Inoue versus Merjan. Junto versus Inoue is a big fight, it's a big event, and I want to go to Japan for the content, but like it's not really like really I wanted to see I wanted to skip to featherweight. I want to skip to featherweight, but you know. Hiro says, when can we spar? You throw punches at the same speed. I bet I can time you. We can spar as soon as we meet. You know what, Hiro? I'm gonna go to your parents. I know where you work at, bro. I'm gonna go to your parents' job, and I'm gonna show up with headgear and gloves, and I'm gonna have my dad film it. And I'm gonna start just throwing punches at you. I'm not even gonna say hello and introduce myself. I'm just gonna come start throwing punches. That's gonna be my introduction. BT, you've been a savage, Lily. What have I been a savage about? I feel like I'm being myself. What have I been a savage about? Be specific. If Inoue in another timeline moves up to a featherweight, do you think he can beat Eduardo? Oh my God! Listen, Sugar Nunez. I saw him in person. So I'm gonna tell you guys a story. So he fought. Sugar Nunez fought 4 days after Angelo fought Kameda in Japan, and I was in Japan when Nunez fought Rikishi, and I was there for Angelo to fight Kameda. So I remember I was supposed to go to that fight, and I wound up not going to that fight because the person that was supposed to get me into the fight was told by the head of Tekken, or not the head, but he was told by Mr. Honda's right-hand man to not take me into the fights. So I didn't go to the fights, and I was like, whatever. And I was tired anyway from the Angelo fight from a couple of days ago. So I just slept. I didn't even watch the Rikishi Nunez fight when it happened on my phone or anything. I later then went to the hotel where I knew Nunez was staying, and I met him. So I got an idea of how big, what Nunez's frame is like. I got a chance to size him up, and he's not like a massive 130 pounder. Like he's strong and he's stocky. I think that'd be a good fight for Inoue. I think he'd have to box him. I don't think he'd go in there fighting Nunez the way he's been fighting these guys at 122 and 118. But if Inoue can box and counter punch Nunez, he'd have a chance. But he'd have to tweak his style. He can't live. That's not a fight where he can live by the Bushido code. You know. Inoue could go to 126. He should only fight Ball. Leo and Espinosa might knock him out. He should be happy with having only one belt. Well, look, my thing is this with Inoue at 126. If he even wins one belt at 126, he puts himself in rarefied air, because you got to remember, Inoue was champion at 108, 115, 118, and 122, and he's two-time undisputed. If he wins a title at 126, that makes him a 5-division champion. And there's only a handful of 5-division champions in the history of boxing, and those fighters are Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, Tommy Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Manny Pacquiao. So he'd be like the sixth 5-division champion in the history of boxing. So he'd be, at that point, like really and truly, he'd be boxing royalty. So you'd have to give that would actually enhance Inoue to a whole other level. BT, you give no shit the information I bring to you. Like, you already have all the insider information. I feel useless. I don't got all the inside information. I don't know everything, but I know a little bit. I'm involved in the fight game, so I get things passed along to me, and sometimes I watch these fighters in person and I meet them, and sometimes I talk to the management teams. Like, sometimes I sit here You guys be surprised how many times I gotta sit here and I talk about fighters who I know behind closed doors really aren't like that, but have the public fooled. Like they act like they're such killers, but I know that they're turning down fights and they're not really trying to fight certain guys. But I come here and I talk and I play stupid, but you know, it is what it is. Such is life, such is boxing. For those of us who have only heard the name Xander, can you describe what his role in boxing is? Oh my God, where do I begin? So, for all the criticisms I give of Turki Al-Sheikh being like an authoritarian, I think you could also say the same for Mr. Honda. Mr. Honda has Japanese boxing in a cobra clutch. It is a monopoly unlike anything I've ever seen in boxing before. The structure of Japanese boxing is so different than anywhere else in the world because, you know, in Japan they don't have the Muhammad Ali Act, right? So there's no laws to protect the you know, somebody being your promoter and your manager. So in Japan, the gym in which the fighters train in. So, like for example, if I'm a boxer, right, and I train at Ohashi Boxing Gym, Ohashi Boxing Gym is my manager and my promoter, and some of these gyms have their own fight cards. Like they literally put on the fight cards and whatnot and stuff. But the caveat to all that is when you get to the big time boxing level in Japan and you fight on TV, you know, over there in Japan, like their version of DAZN or ESPN Plus would be like Lamino. It's called Lamino. And Lamino is like a streaming service that's on NTT Docomo. NTT Docomo is like the T-Mobile of Japan, right? So you can get Lamino on NTT Docomo, and you pay a subscription, and they have fights and they have other forms of entertainment on Lamino. And Mr. Honda is the one with all the connections to Lamino and many other big time Japanese broadcasts. So even if you train at a different gym that's not Tekken Promotions and you're not directly signed to Mr. Honda, once you get to the big time level of boxing, you have to do Mr. Honda, right? If you want to box abroad, let's say we'll use Kenshiro, for example, right? So Kenshiro Taraji, he's not a Mr. Honda, he's not an outright Mr. Honda fighter. He trains at Misako Boxing Gym in Tokyo, and then his home gym is in Kyoto. It's a gym called BNB Boxing Gym. So those are the people that handle Kenshiro's career. But because Kenshiro's at a level where he's fighting on world title fights and he's fighting on TV, Kenshiro Taraji, in a lot of these smaller gyms in Japan, they got to rely on the funding from Mr. Honda, who has the connections to all these streaming platforms. And Mr. Honda has been in boxing since like the 1980s, or even longer than that, actually, because Mr. Honda and Tekken Promotions helped to promote a lot of those Mike Tyson fights that happened in Japan back in the day. Like when Mike Tyson fought Buster Douglas, when Mike Tyson fought Tony Tubbs, that was a co-promotion with Tekken Promotions. Mr. Honda helped promote those events at the Tokyo Dome. So he's probably one of the top 5 most influential figures in boxing anywhere in the world. And he's actually in the Boxing Hall of Fame already. So that will tell you. I had a chance to meet Mr. Honda one time. I met him one time after Inoue's fight against Yi Jun Kim at the Ariake Arena. I met him in the back rooms of the locker room. And, you know, I didn't have the greatest experience. Like, I went up to him and I told him who I was. I said, hey, you know, nice to meet you, Mr. Honda. My name is Brendan. I'm from America. I've been covering Japanese boxing for a lot of years. You know, and I was trying to tell him that, like, I want to collaborate with him. I want to get, you know, access to the Tekken gym fighters, because when I go to Japan, I get along with everybody. The only 2 gyms that I seem to have any issues with are Ohashi Boxing Gym and Tekken Promotions, because those are the big gyms and they're very closed off to Japanese media. So imagine how closed off they are to a foreigner like me who doesn't really speak Japanese. Everywhere else, though, like every other gym in Japan, you know, any other part of Japan, I've gotten along with everybody. So I was trying to like, you know, build a connection with him. But before I could even finish my sentence, he was like, I don't have time for this. And he walked off. And then the funny thing is, when I met him, he was next to Mr. Ohashi. And so then I was like, okay, well, let me talk to Ohashi. So as soon as he heard me say something about talking to Ohashi, he said something in Japanese to one of the security guards in the back, and then he walked to a certain part of the hallway, and they said I couldn't walk past that point anymore. So that's my one experience, Mr. Honda. I'm hoping in the future that we could definitely come to a mutual understanding and work together, because I'm going to be involved in the Japanese boxing scene. Like, that's not going to stop. But from what I was told about Mr. Honda, it takes a while to win these people over from Tekken Promotions. I have a friend who's a manager, and he does a lot of business with Mr. Honda. And he told me, he said, BT, don't get discouraged with Mr. Honda and Tekken, because they just now started liking me, and I make these guys thousands and millions of dollars doing shows with them. So, it took me a while. So if it took me a while, it's gonna take you a while. So that's my Mr. Honda story. Thanks for sharing information. I'm willing to bet no other YouTuber has. Nah, they don't, because this is the only information you can get through experience and spending your hard-earned money to go to Japan, which, I know not everybody has. And I'm not a rich man, but, God has blessed me, and good things seem to happen to me. And I take crazy risks because, I don't have a family or kids, so I can do this right now at this stage of my life. But, yeah, there's no way in hell I could have learned any of this if I didn't go to Japan 3 times and spent a combined damn near 6 months of my life there. So, yeah. Have I tried learning Japanese? I have to do it. I'm bullshitting with that. If I learn Japanese, I'll be a millionaire. So I need to go ahead and learn Japanese. I know 10 words. I know 10 words. I know arigato gozaimasu. I know atsui, which means hot. I know zamui, that means cold. I know ayete yokata, which means nice to see you again. I know matane, which means see you later. I know a couple little words, a couple little phrases, because you pick up things being in Japan long enough. But I want to learn Japanese. I got to learn Japanese at this point. What was my first job before entering boxing journalism? That's a great question. The first job I ever had was when I was 15 years old. I was in high school. I was in the 9th grade, and I used to bag groceries at Publix. So that was my first job. And then, fun fact: before I started covering boxing, I used to cover the NBA. When I got out of high school, I covered basketball. And I remember I moved to Texas with some family for a year or two. And I covered the Mavericks for a little bit. I interviewed Vince Carter. I interviewed Steph Curry, Kemba Walker, a lot of NBA players. Did that for 2 years. I had no clue what I was doing. I had zero clue what I was doing. And the NBA is so much more harder than boxing to get access to anything. So it's crazy to think about now, because this is 2014, 2015. I don't even know how I even did that back then, but somehow I did. You need more than just where the girls are at. What do you mean by that? You can start learning Japanese at Duolingo. It's not as bad as people stated. No, I mean, I gotta listen to myself and do it, because I retain information pretty fast. I just gotta go ahead and make the time, because it would change my life. I go there enough. I'm not gonna stop going there. I'm gonna go there every single year for the rest of my life. So that better late than never. Better start now. It's very possible, honestly, guys. It's very, very possible that one day you might look up and you might see your boy BT, advising and managing some of these Japanese fighters down the road. You might see that one day. You might see me in the corner of one of these young Japanese fighters winning world titles one day. You might go ahead and see that. So I'm gonna have to learn a little something so I can communicate with the fighters and all that stuff. But shout out to everybody. I can't believe I'm still rambling. This has been. I drank some coffee. I drank some coffee before this live started, and somehow I'm not tired. I'm wide awake. So shout out to the coffee, man. Shout out to the Cuban coffee. The coffee is doing the job. Normally by now I'd be tired, but I'm wide awake. You're 1,000% right. You're 1,000% right. You can do anything you put your mind to. It's all about what you put in, what you get out of it. So you're 1,000% right. Let's go, BT. That's the attitude. You're going to be in the corner. I mean, listen, if you go back and you watch some of them Angelo Leo fights on Pro Box, I was already in the corner, you know. If you go back and you watch the Mike Plania fight and Baez, if you go and you watch, you'll see me in the background there. But yeah, I think that's definitely going to be something. Am I watching Trinidad versus Potter? No, I'm going to watch it after this live is done. Omar Trinidad is probably going to be in the IBF mandatory any day now. And I think he's going to wind up being a future opponent for Angelo Leo. So, you know, we're watching Omar Trinidad like a hawk, you know, because we know we're going to have to fight him one day. Ray Extraordinary says, BT, what's up, bro? What's good, Ray? I'm just here, man. I'm just out here at this point. I'm shooting off at the mouth. Like, we don't ran through our talking points. I probably should have got this live like 30 minutes ago, but I'm just here talking because I'm wide awake. I might get off though in about 5 minutes. I'm gonna go 5 more minutes and then I'm gonna go ahead and end this live because I do want to go watch the fights. But ask some questions. 5 years from now, who will be the top 5 fighters in boxing? I saw the same question on Twitter. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's hard to predict. Who will be the top 5 fighters in boxing? I don't know. Maybe if Brian Norman beats Devin Haney, I think he's going to be on a trajectory to be one of the top 5 fighters in boxing one day because I think he's going to be a multiple division champion. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. You tell me. Who do you guys think? Beating Timmy was the worst thing that could have happened to Bakhram. Yeah, man. Like he beat Bakhram, but it's like the boxing game want to punish him. They want to punish him for messing up the money because PBC had a lot of money invested in the Tim Tszyu. So I hate that about boxing because that happens to some fighters. Some fighters will win. Some fighters will win fights against fighters who have a lot of money invested into them, and they'll get punished for it. Quiet as kept. That shit does happen in boxing. Berlanga versus Plant still good? Yeah, they both coming off losses. Why not? I don't necessarily want to see it, but it's a passable fight right now. How highly do I rate Hayato Tsutsumi? Very highly. I think he's the best fighter from Japan above the featherweight limit. So I think he's gonna win a world title for sure. There's no way he's not winning a world title in the next 9 months. The only way he don't win a world title in the next 9 months is if he doesn't get a world title fight, because I don't think he's gonna lose. I don't think he's losing tomorrow, and I don't think he's gonna lose to whoever the hell he fights for the title, because I think he's gonna wind up fighting for the WBA title against what's his name? WBA champion is Dick. They're gonna elevate Jazz Dickens because Lamont Roach isn't staying at 130. He's gonna fight Tank, and then he's gonna go to 135 permanently. So then Jazz Dickens will get elevated, like all these guys in the WBA do these days, and he'll beat Dickens, and he'll be champion that way. I like how you never wish on the downfall of PBC. In 2017 and 2022, you used to talk hella crap about PBC. I mean, that's not true. I told the truth about PBC, and you interpreted it that way. Some of the same things I say about Turkey now we'll say about PBC, because you can make some of the same criticism about Turkey as you could about PBC back then, overpaying, paying fighters above market value, not making certain fights happen, trying to create a monopoly on the sport of boxing. Those are all things that PBC was trying to do at one point in time. So the only difference is that Al Heyman had hedge fund money. Turkey Al-Sheikh has government money. He's being banked by a government, and Turkey Al-Sheikh bought up some of the boxing media, so now he can control the narrative, and he doesn't get anywhere close to the same amount of pushback as Al Heyman did. What are your thoughts on 175 since Bivol is out for a minute, and it seems like Benavidez may have to fight Beterbiev? My thoughts on 175. I would like to see Beterbiev fight Benavidez. That's the best fight to make in the division for me. But I really want to see some of the young guys make a bigger name for himself in the division. Like I want to see Atif Overton become a bigger factor in the division. Yeah, there's like 175. I think has reached its crescendo with Beterbiev and Bivol fighting already. I'm over Beterbiev and Bivol fighting each other. They gave us what we wanted. God bless them. But I want to see Benavidez get his shot. I think for me the most intriguing storyline is probably Benavidez getting his shot to show what caliber is he at light heavyweight. What are your thoughts on Treasure Boxing Promotions from Japan? I don't really like I know they promoted Casemiro fights before. I know they had if I'm not mistaken, Kiyoguchi fought one of their cards. But Treasure Boxing Promotions, I mean, any boxing promotion in Japan that's not under the Mr. Honda umbrella is fighting uphill battle because I'm telling you guys, I could sit here and I could explain it to you, but until you actually really go to Japan and you start talking to people in the gyms and stuff and you really start to learn the structure of Japanese boxing, bro, I've never seen anybody have so much control anywhere in the world. It's crazy. So they're fighting uphill battle, but, you know, best wishes to them. As long as they make good fights and pay the fight as well, they'll be all right. But, you know, I know that's a lot easier said than done in boxing. But guys, look, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and end the live. You know, we've been live for almost 3 hours. So listen, guys, I'll be live again tomorrow at the conclusion of the card for Dillian White and Moses Itama and, you know, all those fights, Ford, Nova, Hrgovic, Adelaide. When all that is done, within like 10 to 20 minutes of it done, I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna do an instant reaction live after the fight. So definitely join and make your thoughts known, and I'll definitely be talking. And, you know, I made hella videos, so I got stuff scheduled to come out. And you know, there's always content here on True School Sports, whether it's community posts, whether it's videos, whether it's shorts. I've been putting in that work. I've been in the lab. So, you know, you guys take care. God bless. I'm gonna go watch these fights that took place tonight. And yeah, take care and keep supporting the channel. Like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.